Yes, guys. Good evening, good evening. So, yes, the chat box is open for you all. Yes, good evening. This side, Dr. Abhijeet, and today, yes, yeah, we are going to start with the neuroanatomy. That's, I think, the toughest topic in the entire anatomy, right? Vinay, good evening. Salman, yeah, I'm just gonna start, guys, right? Sharan Gopinath, good evening, beta. So welcome to the session on the neuroanatomy, day one. So I will be discussing about the spinal cord in detail today, but before that, let us first discuss something like regarding the basic part, okay, of neuroanatomy. But before that, Devraj, good evening. But before that, I would just request everyone to just give me a thumbs up in the chat box if the audio and visuals are perfectly fine. If the audio and visuals are perfectly fine, please try to interact with me via chat box. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat box that if the audio and visuals are perfectly fine. Yeah, I'm waiting for your thumbs up. Yes, Shailu, good evening. Vinay, okay. Yasir, okay. Henry, okay. Okay. Salman, okay. Mansoori Imtiaz, good evening. Good evening, beta. Yes, Curious Medicos, good evening from Afghanistan. Okay, Yogesh, Rajesh, Robin, very good, guys, very good. Let us just start with the very first topic, that is the anatomical division. Yes, Hassan, Tanish, good evening, guys. So let us first start with the first topic, that is the anatomical division of the nervous system. Anatomical division of the nervous system. Now, guys, the nervous system anatomically, it is divided into two major parts. I would request each and every student over here to please kindly write down the notes along with me. I will be writing with you. I will be drawing various diagrams. Once you draw the diagrams, it is like crystal clear for everyone, right? So it is like very necessary, guys, that you have to be you are going to write along with me, right? So yeah. So the nervous system anatomically, it is classified into two major parts, guys. The two major systems of our body. We have the central nervous system, central nervous system, and we have the peripheral nervous system, peripheral nervous system. We have central nervous system and we have the peripheral nervous system. Now, guys, remember the central nervous system comprises of the two main organs, right? They are the brain and the spinal cord. The brain and the spinal cord, guys. The spinal cord. The brain and the spinal cord. The central nervous system comprises of the brain and the spinal cord. Now, guys, you already know why brain and spinal cord are called as the central nervous system of in our body. I mean, remember, guys, that they are located centrally, guys. They are located along the midline of the body, right? In the midline of our body, right? So that is why they are called as the central nervous system. They are located on the central axis of our body. So the brain, guys, you already know the brain. It is located in the cranial cavity. Yes, Tanish, yes, you're right. The brain, it is located in the cranial cavity, guys. That is something you guys already know. The brain, it is located in the cranial cavity, right? And the spinal cord, it is located within the vertebral canal. Within the vertebral canal. Now, meanwhile, you guys are going to answer me how many vertebrae are present in our body. How many vertebrae are present in our body? I'm waiting for your answers in the chat box, guys. And I think you guys already know how many vertebrae are present in our body. Yes. So, Mohammed Hassan 33. Basically, beta, when we are talking about a newborn, it is 33. But when we are talking about an adult, guys, in adult, how many vertebrae are there? Okay. Tanish, it is like in a newborn. Okay. But when I'm talking about an adult, guys, how many vertebrae are there? और vertebra का ही एक central part होता है. In the vertebra, we have a central part, guys, and that is called as the vertebral canal, guys. You know, we have a body of the vertebra, right? And yes, we have the body of the vertebra, we have the processes of the vertebra, and between we have one foramen, guys, and that is the vertebral canal or the vertebral foramen. Yes, Sharon 26. Yes, very good, beta. It is 26, right? So within these vertebral canals, guys, like the spinal cord is passing, the vertebral foramen, right? Now that is know the central nervous system that you guys already know from before, right? So now coming on to the peripheral nervous system. So basically the peripheral nervous system, they include nerves outside the CNS. They include the nerves outside the CNS, right? See the five sacral vertebra, Hassan, they are fused together as one, and even the coccygeal vertebrae are fused. So they are counted as one. The sacral vertebra is one, and the lumbar, the coccygeal vertebra is one. So that's why it is 26, right? Now, includes nerves outside the CNS. And remember, guys, we have like two types of nerves that you should remember. The two types of nerves that you should remember. One, it is the cranial nerves. Yes, Vinay, you're right. One, it is the cranial nerves. And the other one, which is coming from the spinal cord, we have the spinal nerves. Now, the cranial nerves, basically, it is coming from the brain. The spinal nerves, they are coming from the spinal cord. They are coming from the spinal cord. Now, guys, let us just try to see. Ankit, good evening. Let us just try to see in this particular picture. You can very well see that we have the brain, and we have the spinal cord. The brain and the spinal cord, they are located in the central axis of the body. That's why these are termed as the central nervous system, right? That's why these are termed as the central nervous system, right? Now, from the brain, the nerves are coming out. If you can really appreciate over here, these are called as the cranial nerves. From the brain, basically what is happening, the nerves are coming out. These are called as the cranial nerves. And from the spinal cord, the nerves are coming out. These are called as the spinal nerves. These are called as spinal nerves. Now, if you clearly see, basically the spinal nerves, they are coming from the spinal cord, and they are going to the periphery of the body. They are going outwards, they are going on the lateral side, guys. So that is why these two nerves, basically they are outside the central nervous system, right? They are originating from the brain and spinal cord, but they are going towards the periphery. That's why they form the part of the peripheral nervous system. So the cranial nerves, you already know, it extends from the brain. And the spinal nerve, it extends from the spinal cord. Right? So that is the basic thing that you guys already know. That is like the basic thing that you guys already know over here. Right? Now, let us just first discuss a little bit about the brain, guys, because I will be using the parts of the brain like frequently, like in my upcoming lectures, right? I will be using the parts of the brain even in the spinal cord tracts. So it is very important to know, learn the parts of the brain, and I hope you guys know actually the parts of the brain, right, guys? So you guys are gonna tell me what are the parts of the brain, the major parts of the brain. Yeah, the parts of the brain. Let us just try to draw a very simple diagram and try to simplify this, guys. Try to simplify this, right? Yes. Now the parts of the brain. Basically, the brain, it is divided into three parts, right? The forebrain, midbrain, yeah, and the hindbrain. The forebrain, midbrain, and the hindbrain, guys. Let us just try to draw this. Yes. Yes, Vinay, you are right. Shivam, yes, you are right. Right. So let us just try to draw this in a very simple manner, guys. I'm drawing the sagittal section of the brain. Now, guys, please learn this now. Every time I will be showing you the diagram, I will be telling you the sections of the how we are taking this picture. Now I have, you already know we have two bones over here that are called as the parietal bones, right? These are called as the parietal bones. In between the parietal bones, we have a suture. They are connected to each other with the help of a suture called as the sagittal suture. Okay, sagittal suture is just exactly in the midline of our body. Now I'm cutting my body exactly in the midline. That is the sagittal plane. That is the sagittal plane, and I'm looking the body from side. I'm looking the body from side, and exactly this is how the picture will look like. I'm cutting my body from midline. I'm removing this part, one part, and I'm just trying to look my body from side, right? So that is how the picture will look like, guys. So the very first part that you already know, try to make it as simple as you can, guys, because like I don't want you to like draw something very fancy, right? Yes. हम्म हाँ ये पूरा कंप्लीट होगा कनिष्क यस YTB of Dr. whatever it's your name, right? It's like, yeah. So yes, we have the pons, we have the medulla oblongata, right? We have the cerebellum behind, right? And guys, the spinal cord and the spinal cord, right? And the spinal cord, guys, right? So that is like in a very simple diagram. I'm just trying to show you guys the parts of the brain. Now the forebrain, basically it consists of the cerebrum, right? Please be very clear with the statements, guys. The cerebrum, remember guys, the brain, it is also called as encephalon. The brain, it is also called as encephalon, right? So cerebrum, it is also called as telencephalon. Telencephalon. The cerebrum, it is also called as telencephalon, right? We have a part of the forebrain, right? We have a part of the forebrain over here. Remember, guys, this is nothing but the diencephalon, or we call it as the thalamus, right? It is also called as diencephalon, right? Diencephalon or the thalami part. Both of them, cerebrum and the thalamus, right? Both of them, the cerebrum and the thalamus, or telencephalon plus diencephalon, guys, will be together called as the forebrain. Together called as the forebrain, and forebrain it is called as prosencephalon. Prosencephalon, guys. Right? Cerebrum, that is the telencephalon, along with the diencephalon, that is the thalami, right? It will be called as together will be called as this forebrain or the prosencephalon. Then in between part, guys, in between part over here, which I'm highlighting, this part, it is called as, yeah, I will ask everyone to have the color pencils with you because it will be like helpful over here. Yes, this part, it is called as the midbrain, right? This is called as the midbrain, and midbrain, it is also called as mesencephalon. Midbrain, it is also called as mesencephalon. Mesencephalon, right? Midbrain, it is also called as the mesencephalon. Then we have, guys, you already know this structure, it is called as the pons, right? We have medulla oblongata. Yes, we have medulla oblongata. Abukar, good afternoon. Yes. Devraj, right. We have medulla oblongata, we have pons, and behind we have like this. Yes, the cerebellum. The cerebellum, guys. Right? We have the cerebellum. So together the pons, medulla oblongata, and this cerebellum, together, all these three guys, the cerebellum plus pons plus this medulla oblongata, yes, it is called as rhombencephalon. Rhombencephalon. Rhombencephalon, guys. Right? Rhombencephalon. Right? Yes, yes, yes. Yes, Tanish. Yes, I hope it will be available. Yes, it is called as rhombencephalon, right? Yeah, this is right. Nishant, yes, it is metencephalon and myelencephalon, right? So I'm just like telling you in short, and the continuation of the medulla oblongata lower part, it is called as the spinal cord. It is called as the spinal cord, right? So that is exactly in the center, guys. That is exactly in the center. So that is something that you guys have to remember, right? So this is in nutshell about this part. Okay. One question that I have to discuss over here. Every time I will be uh, asking you about the brain stem, guys. Brain stem. What is brain stem out of these all structures? What is this brain stem, guys? Just remember, brain stem is nothing but midbrain plus pons plus medulla oblongata, right? Medulla oblongata. So midbrain, the brainstem, it is midbrain plus pons plus medulla oblongata, right? So that is something you have to remember over here. Okay. So that is the parts of the brain in nutshell. And okay. Now, guys, the spinal cord, guys, the spinal cord. I'm not talking about the vertebra, guys. I'm not talking about the vertebra. Okay. I'm talking about the spinal cord, guys. And remember, the spinal cord has certain segments, guys. They have certain segments. Like, it is just like a rod, guys. If I just try to slice it off, there will be some segments, guys, coming out of it. Some segments coming out of it. And these are called as the spinal segments, guys. These are called as the spinal segment. Okay. Now, I will be completing the rest topics now, guys. Himanshu, good evening. Abukar, I will be completing the rest topics. Don't worry. So these are the spinal segments, guys, and yeah, just hmm. Sure. These are the spinal segments, guys. So yeah, the spinal cord is divided into following regions, guys. We have the cervical region, right? We have cervical region. Then we have like, yeah, the cervical region. Yes, Subhash, good evening, beta. Then we have like, yes, we have the thoracic region, guys. We have thoracic region. Thoracic regions has 12 segments of the spinal cord. 12 segments of the spinal cord. The cervical region, it is having like 8 segments, guys. 8 segments, guys. So yes, from here only the nerves are coming out. Okay, you guys are going to tell me how many cervical vertebrae are present. How many cervical vertebrae are present? I'm waiting for your answer in the chat box. How many cervical vertebrae are present? Then we have lumbar region, sacral region, and yes, yes, Vinay, very good. Then we have this lumbar region. Lumbar region again has like these 5 segments. Hmm. Yes, Ankit, Nikita, Shivam, Anshu, Subhash, Yogesh, like correct, beta, correct, perfect. Curious Medicos, Anshu, very good. Musunori, very good. Okay. Lumbar again has 5 segments. Then again, we have these sacral region, right? The sacral region. Again, it has 5 segments. 5 segments. And the last one, guys, it is the, yes, the coccygeal region. the coccygeal region, yes, it is having one segment. It is having one segment. Now the spinal cord, which is like an elongated tube, it is divided into different regions, right? The cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, and coccygeal. And like the cervical region has 8 segments, thoracic has 12, lumbar has 5, sacral has 5, and coccygeal has 1. It has nothing to do with the vertebra over here, guys. It has nothing to do with the vertebra. Now, if I simply ask you guys, if I simply ask you that how many cervical nerves will be coming out, cervical spinal nerves. Now, when I say cervical spinal nerves, guys, it is very much clear they are coming from the spinal cord, and they're coming from which part of the spinal cord? That is the cervical region. So how many, if there are 8 segments, guys, in the cervical region, how many cervical spinal nerves will be coming out? Yes, Vikas, good evening. Yes, Osama, very good. It will be 8 cervical spinal nerves. It will be 8 cervical spinal nerves. So let us just try to make this chart over here, the spinal nerves chart over here. Yes. Yes, Abukar, very good. Curious Medicos, very good. So yes, you should know that these spinal nerves, yeah. So I'm just, yeah, I'm just trying to write about these spinal nerves over here, guys. The spinal nerves, and spinal nerves are nothing but these are 31 pairs. These are 31 pairs, and you guys already know that these 31 pairs, I mean, they will be on both sides, right? On the right side also and on the left side. They're coming from the spinal cord, right? So let us just try to name it. First one will be the cervical spinal nerve. Be very quick, guys. We have to discuss a lot of things today. Cervical spinal nerve, thoracic spinal nerve, right? We have lumbar spinal nerve. We have sacral spinal nerve, right? And the coccygeal spinal nerve. Coccygeal spinal nerve. So cervical spinal nerve, it is 8 pairs. Thoracic, it is 12 pairs. Lumbar, it is 5 pairs. Sacral, it is 5 pairs. And coccygeal, it is 1 pair, right? So total, it is 31 pairs, right, of spinal nerves. That is a part of spinal nerve, that is a part of peripheral nervous system. That is a part of peripheral nervous system, right? So that is a part of peripheral nervous system. So that is the first thing that we have already discussed, guys, right? Yes. Okay. Medulla oblongata, guys, I have not mentioned over here. Just write it down. It is myelencephalon, right? It's myelencephalon. Please just mention it over here. Yes. So yeah, we have discussed about the spinal nerves. We know that how many cranial nerves are there in our body, guys? Cranial nerves, they're coming from the brain. They're coming from the brain. And how many cranial nerves are there, guys? Can anyone tell me in the chat box? Yes, I'm waiting for your answers, guys. Can you tell me in the chat box how many cranial nerves are there? Yes, Connect Save, it is 24, or Abukar, it is 12 pairs. Yes, Vinay, 12 pairs will be the best answer. Osama, Nishant, Fun Mode, Vikas, very good. Yes, Fun Mode, it's wrong. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you should know it is 12 pairs, guys, and basically they extend from brain, right? Cranial nerves done, spinal nerve done. Spinal cord will be our topic of today. That will be, I will be discussing in detail, guys. Yes, the spinal cord, I will be taking 3 lectures of spinal cord continuously in a row. Yes, tomorrow also. Today though I'm anyways discussing it. Yeah, and day after tomorrow also. Brain, we have already discussed the parts, right? Brain, we have already discussed the parts. Now. Let us now start with the other part. Yes. One class. Okay, this is the part of the brain, guys. You already know, we have discussed this. We have the telencephalon or the cerebrum. Okay, along with the diencephalon, that is thalamus, hypothalamus part. Together they are called as the forebrain, or prosencephalon. Mesencephalon is the midbrain. Pons and yeah, cerebellum combinedly they are called as metencephalon. Okay, along with the medulla oblongata, together they are called as the rhombencephalon or the hindbrain. So that is something you have to remember. And continuation of this medulla Oblongata, you can just see this is the spinal cord. This is the spinal cord, right? So, yes. Now, functional organization I wanted to discuss over here. One more classification, guys, in very short, because majority of the times I will be using these names in the upcoming slides. No, so you should be very much clear with these names as well, right? So remember, guys, the functional organization basically it divides the nervous system, yeah, into two parts. Into two parts, we have the sensory nervous system, the sensory nervous system and we have the motor nervous system, the motor nervous system, the sensory nervous system and the motor nervous system. Now what is the sensory nervous system and the motor nervous system, guys? If let us just, I want to draw a very short diagram. I'm like not drawing it now, guys. If I'm taking the spinal cord, I'm cutting it from between, guys. I'm taking a transverse section. I'm cutting the spinal cord from between or any place. I'm just trying to see how it looks like. It will look like this, guys. I'm taking a slide over here, right? Now what happens, guys? You already know we have something called as the receptor, right? Receptor, the basic reflex arc. From the receptors, the sensory neuron will come and it will go into the spinal cord, or I can say any nerve center. Nerve centers are two only, the spinal cord and the brain, right? Receptor. So these are called as sensory neurons. These are called as sensory neurons, right? They will go to the nerve center. Again, we will have a reflex arc. Okay, they will process the information, and from the nervous center, yes, what we have another neuron that will come, and that is called as the motor neuron. That is called as the motor neuron, and obviously it will act on these muscles, and that is something called as the effector. Okay, so that is a basic reflex arc. No receptor is there. From the receptor, touch receptor is there. You're touching something, it will go into the nerve center, right? From the nerve center, motor neuron will come and it will act on the muscle. So we have like 5 components of the reflex arc. We have receptor, sensory neuron, nerve center, motor neuron, and the effector. Effector is usually the muscles, right? So that is basic, that you already know, guys. Now, what is the sensory nervous system doing, guys? Sensory nervous system, it is carrying the information from the receptor to the central nervous system. So that is the function of the sensory nervous system. So it carries the impulses from receptor to CNS, the central nervous system. That is the brain and the spinal cord. The brain and the spinal cord. I'm writing in short, brain and spinal cord, right? Now, this sensory nervous system, it is again divided into two parts. We have somatic sensory division and we have visceral sensory division. Guys, again telling you, be with me from the first day, because these are certain topics which require a lot of understanding. So that is why, like, you have to be with me. You have to understand the concepts. Otherwise, it won't like benefit you if you don't like draw or write with me. Now, what this somatic sensory division do? It carries impulses. From skin, skeletal muscles, joints, etc. Visceral means internal, guys. So it carries signal mainly from viscera of our body, such as the heart, right? You know, heart, lungs, these are all internal organs, right? The stomach, the urinary bladder, right? So that is something you have to remember, urinary bladder. So we have the sensory nervous system, which is like carrying the information from the receptor to the CNS. On the other hand, guys, we have the motor means muscles, guys. Just try to remember, it controls the effectors, right? It controls effectors of our body, obviously effector, right? So it is the muscles and the glands. It is the muscles and the glands, guys. And right, it is from which part? It is from the nerve center. Nerve center is the central nervous system, right? The brain and the spinal cord, the nerve centers are two in the body. So it carries from CNS, the impulses from CNS to the effector, that is muscles or glands, right? So it is again divided into like two parts, guys, and just I'm telling you the name of these two parts and you already know the work. The somatic is also called as voluntary nervous system, voluntary nervous system. And we have, yes, autonomic, autonomic involuntary nervous system, involuntary nervous system. We have somatic nervous system and we have autonomic involuntary nervous system. Now, when I say somatic voluntary nervous system, you guys already know it is like the somatic nerve fibers which conduct the impulses from the CNS to the skeletal muscles, right? It carries the nerve impulses from CNS to skeletal muscles. But when we say autonomic, guys, autonomic is again of two types. Autonomic, I'm just writing above because my space is there, like, so it is again of two types, guys. You already know the name. We have, yes, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic and parasympathetic, right? Sympathetic means no, the physical activity, guys, in the form of flight hormone, right? You already know that. And parasympathetic, like, no, when the body is at rest, guys, no, for the digestion of the food, for the digestion of the food. So that is a parasympathetic example, right? So that is a small classification on the basis of the functional organization, guys. That is, you have to remember regarding this. Yes, and that is about the sensory nervous system and the motor nervous system. The sensory and the motor nervous system. I hope till now it is clear, guys. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat box if it is clear, audible, visible, and you guys are like enjoying learning anatomy of the nervous system. See, I'm starting from the basics. The only thing is I want you guys key. We are starting from the basics, so let us just try to no go with the pace. So that's what like now coming on to the cellular organization of the nervous system. The cellular organization of the nervous system. Now, guys, yes, Vinay, Anshu, Kanishk, Osama, Devraj, Samhita, Yogesh, Vru TV would say. Now, guys, you already know that every part of our body, right? The basic unit, it is the cell. From the cell, we have tissues, right? We have organs, right? Then we have organ system, and ultimately we have the body, right? So the basic unit, it is the cell only. The brains and spinal cord are made up of what cells, guys? Just try to answer me in the chat box. The brains and the spinal cord, it is made up of what cells, guys? Yes. Now, the cells of the nervous system over here, remember they are divided into two categories, guys. Yes, the neurons. Yes, the neurons. Yes, remember, guys, we have the neurons over here. I'm just trying to like discuss from the very basics. That's why it will like take some time. So don't worry, guys. It once it's done, like it will be dusted in histology also. Yeah. Now, guys, remember the basic unit or the basic structural functional unit of the this it is the neuron, right? The neurons, and the other one it is the neuroglia. The neuroglia, or it is also called as the glial cells. Glial cells. Remember, guys, the neurons are the basic structural and functional unit of nervous system and functional unit of nervous system. They are the main cells of the nervous system. But guys, when we talk about neuroglia or the glial cells, remember guys, these are like supporting cells. Yes, Osama, very good. Yes, we have these supporting cells, right? We have these supporting cells, or yeah, actually these are the cells which support the neurons. They support the neurons. One more important thing, they are more in number, more in number than neurons, more in number than neurons, right? And like they account for more than half of the weight of the brain, right? They account for more than half of the weight of the brain. So that is something you have to remember. So neurons I will be discussing in detail, guys, but the neuroglia uh, or the glial cells, the neuroglia or the glial cells. Yes, guys, Samir, one more important Samir point has like neurons don't have the capacity to divide, guys. Whereas neuroglia or the glial cells, they can divide. They can divide. That is again a very important input from Samir Shivapur. Very good, beta. So the neuroglia or the glial cells in CNS and in PNS, we have different cells. In CNS and in the peripheral nervous system. In the peripheral nervous system. In CNS, we have like four main types. Four main types. Just try to name it first. We have astrocytes. Astrocytes. We have ependymal cells. Ependymal cells. We have oligodendrocytes. Yes, oligodendrocytes. And we have microglia. Microglia. In PNS, we have satellite cells. Satellite cells. Okay, or these are also called as lymphocytes. And we have Schwann cells. Schwann cells. Or they are also called as neurolemocytes. Neurolemocytes. Yes, we have satellite cells in the PNS and we have Schwann cells or neurolemocytes, right? So that is something you have to remember, satellite cells or the neurolemocytes. Now, guys, remember I will be covering all the cells in detail because just this is something which is very much required as of now. So just try to see when I say CNS, guys, everything should be clear in your mind. CNS means central nervous system, brain, and spinal cord. In the brain, the cells, the neuroglia cells will be astrocytes, ependymal, oligodendrocytes, and microglia. Now, when I say peripheral nervous system, I'm talking about the peripheral nerves, right? The spinal nerves, the cranial nerves, they will be having satellite cells, Schwann cells, right? So that is something you have to remember, guys, over here. Now coming on to the structure of the neuron, this is something that you guys already know, but let us just try to finish it off by drawing a very simple diagram because I have to teach certain definitions based on this. I'm starting everything from basics because of one single reason, guys, that yes. Now this is the cell body of the neuron. This is the cell body of the neuron. Now this is the cell body. The cell body, it is also called as soma. It is also called as soma. And since it's a cell, obviously the neuron, I'm drawing the structure, that is the neuron over here, guys. The neuron over here, right? So remember that this will have, yes, something called as the nucleus. Nucleus, right? The nucleus, right? Yes. Now this cell body has certain processes, guys, and these are called as dendrites. These are called as dendrites. Just try to draw as simple as you can, guys, right? So yes, these are called as dendrites, right? Now we have something called as the axon hillock, right? And it like continues to the axon, right? To the axon. And just remember we have Yeah, the extensions at the end. Yes, we have the extensions at the end. These are called as telodendria. Telodendria, right? We have these extensions in the end. These are called as telodendria. So this is nothing but the telodendria. We have this axon. Now, axon, guys, you already know the axon. It is a long cylindrical process, right? It's a single long process. It's a single long process. I will be using the term again and again, single long process. Now, it carries impulses. It carries the impulses away from cell body. Away from cell body. Okay, it carries the impulses away from the cell body, right? So that is something you have to remember. Yes, Ilya, you can watch this obviously because I'm teaching everything from the basics. So you can definitely watch this. Right now, guys, now remember that the part from where the axon is beginning over here, this is the axon hillock. Axon hillock, guys, right? Remember, guys, dendrites are basically the short processes. Long process, it's axon only. If I'm talking about the short processes, guys, it is the dendrites, right? So what is the function of the dendrites, guys, over here? They receive the stimulus, guys, and they conduct nerve impulses to the nerve cell body, right? So that is something you have to remember. Apart from that, guys, we have certain granules over here, and these are called as the nissels body nissels bodies, right? Or these are also called as the nissels granules, guys, right? So they are large aggregate of this rough endoplasmic reticulum. So these are the large aggregate of this rough endoplasmic reticulum, right? So it is absent in axon hillock. That is one thing which you can remember over here. It is absent in axon hillock, right? These are absent in axon hillock, right? So that is something the basic that we should know. Soma, the cell body soma, or it is also called as perikaryon. Perikaryon basically means, karyon means the nucleus. It is outside the nucleus. The entire part it is called as the cell body. The entire part it is called as the cell body, guys. So that is like the very basic diagram of the structure of a neuron, guys, right? So now after this, guys, let us just try to discuss some basic definitions, guys. And these definitions are very important. Very important. If you want, you can put dollar sign over here. As you all know, dollars are very necessary. So you can just put this dollar sign over here and just try to see these basic definitions, guys. Now, guys, you already know, let me draw, guys, in a very short manner. This is let us suppose that this is, yes, this is the neuron, guys, right? This is the neuron, right? So ultimately, if we have a group of neurons over here, if we have a group of neurons over here, right? If we have a group of neurons over here, okay, we have a group of neurons. So these are nothing but these are neurons. These are neurons, right? These are neurons. And okay, let me just try to write it over, make it more simple over here, guys. This is the cell body. This is the cell body, right? The cell body. And these are the axons. These are the axons, guys, right? These are the axons. Now guys, what I'm teaching you over here, guys. Now, let us, if I am only talking about the cell bodies, guys, if I am only talking about the cell bodies, right? So remember, guys, the collection of cell bodies together, it forms the gray matter, Now everyone says na ki gray matter kya hota hai? What is this gray matter, white matter, white matter? I will be talking about the gray and the white matter today. So listen guys, what is this gray matter? This is the collection of the neurons guys, and neurons में से specifically which part? It is the cell body wala part. It's the soma. It is the soma or the cell body, right? The cell body which contains the nucleus, which contains the nucleus granules. It's the cell body guys. It's the cell body. So that is you have to remember. It is the collection of cell bodies together. It is called as the gray matter, right? And guys, if there is a collection of these axons, if there is a collection of axons, if there is a collection of axons together, right? That is called as the white matter. Very good, Anshu, very good. It is the white matter, beta. It is the white matter. White matter. So whenever gray matter comes to your mind, yes, it is the collection of these cell bodies together. These cell bodies, neuron की cell body होती है और बड़ा वाला process it is called as the axon, right? Similarly, the collection of axons, it is the white matter. Collection of cell bodies together, it is the gray matter. It is the gray matter. Now this gray matter, okay. Now let us first talk about this white matter, guys. Let us first talk about this white matter. Now this white matter, okay, will be different in case of CNS and peripheral nervous system. It will be different in case of CNS and peripheral nervous system. Now, in case of CNS, this white matter, it is called as very first important thing, that is called as the tract. It is called as tracts. I will be using the word tracts, guys, multiple number of times. Tract, spinocerebellar tract. So what is this tract, guys? Remember, guys, it is group of nerve fibers, right? This is the group of which axons, right? Which is inside the CNS, right? So if I just want to, no, actually they have like same definition, guys. Just I wanted to like make it more simple. It is group of nerve fibers, group of nerve fibers inside CNS. CNS, I mean nerve fibers, which part? Axons wala part, axons wala part, right? Having same origin. No, they will be having same origin, same course, same termination, same termination, same termination. So these are the group of nerve fibers inside the CNS, which will be having same origin, same course, same termination. Again in CNS, yes, we have another part again in CNS, guys, that is called as fasciculus or bundles, right? These are called as fasciculus or bundles. अब ये क्या है? These are again these axons. These are again these axons, right? So these are group of nerve fibers inside this, what we say, the CNS, in the central nervous system only, in CNS only. But what is the difference between tract and fasciculus or bundles? They will be having different origin, different origin, different course, and different termination, right? So that is something you have to remember. That is something you have to remember. These are called as fasciculus or bundles. Now coming on to one more term that you will encounter every time over here, that is lemniscus. So we have one more term that is called as lemniscus. Lemniscus. Now this lemniscus is basically, it is the ascending sensory fiber in brainstem. Again, brainstem is a part of central nervous system only. So it is ascending sensory fibers in brainstem. Now, when I say brainstem, guys, can anyone tell me what is brainstem made up of? Ascending sensory fibers in brainstem. Can anyone tell me what is brainstem made up of? Which three parts? I've just told you guys. Yes. The Anchor Studio, guys, I will be talking about this in just a couple of minutes. We have the We have the glial cells, right? The neuroglial cells, and especially the, yes, astrocytes and all, they will be causing this tumor and cancer, guys. I will be coming to these parts, right? Just wait. Midbrain plus pons plus medulla oblongata. So these are again midbrain pons, medulla oblongata, again the part of CNS. What is lemniscus? Every time when you see lemniscus, it is group of axons together in midbrain pons and like the sensory fibers in the, yes, this part, right? So that is something. Now in PNS, guys, in peripheral nervous system, it is called as, yes, in peripheral nervous system, it is called as, remember, it is simply called as the nerve. It is simply called as the nerve, right? It is simply called as nerve, right? But in CNS, we have different names for these group of nerves together, right? So that is something you have to take away from here, right? Now, gray matter, yes, gray matter. Hmm. Or lemniscus, guys, you can just mention one more thing over here. That's exactly the thalamus part, guys. The lemniscus will actually in the thalamus part. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Basically, yes. It's like brainstem also can be there, right? So no need to like worry about that. Now, guys, over here, let us just talk about the gray matter, guys. The gray matter, guys, and you guys already know the definition. Now, collection of nerve cell bodies in CNS and in PNS, peripheral nervous system. In CNS, it is called as nuclei, and in peripheral nervous system, it is called as ganglia. It is called as ganglia, guys. In peripheral nervous system, it is called as ganglia, right? So we have the sensory ganglion of the cranial nerves, the dorsal root ganglion. So when we talk about PNS, guys, it is the peripheral nervous system. Now, when I say cell bodies, guys, I'm talking about the cell bodies of these neurons. And when I say the white matter, it is the axons, guys. It is the axons. Now, why white matter, guys? Why white? Why white? Because of the appearance. These axons will have a covering, and this is guys. Can you tell me which these axons are covered by a sheath? Can you tell me the name of the sheath, guys? I forgot to draw in the earlier slide, but I hope everyone recognizes it. What is this sheath, guys, called as? Yes, yes, myelin sheath, and because of these myelin sheath, the appearance is white in color. Because of this myelin sheath, the appearance is white in color, guys. That's why it's called as the white matter. So that's why it is called as the white matter, right? So that is something that you have to remember from here, right? Nucleus is like the collection of cell bodies. Okay, so yeah, when we say the nucleus or the nuclei, guys, in the in the spinal cord, we will be talking about certain nucleus. Now, when I say nucleus of the anterior horn, you should know what is nucleus. In the central nervous system, in the brain and spinal cord, what is the nucleus? It is the cell body only. It is the cell body of the neuron, right? So that is something you have to think when I will be discussing that. So I hope this is clear, guys. This is clear. I think this is clear. So just give me a thumbs up if these parts are like clear to you guys, right? the okay, the tracts, fasciculus, lemniscus, they all like have the same definition. They are collection of axons only in the central nervous system. In peripheral nervous system, it is called as nerve, right? Yeah. Okay, the cell bodies in case of CNS, yes, the together cell bodies, the gray matter in CNS, it is the nucleus. In the PNS, we have the ganglia. Is it clear, guys, everyone? Yes, Kanishk, very good. Samhita, very good, very good. What about rest, guys? Are you attending the lecture? Are you guys alive? Yes, Anshu, very good. Please reply, guys. Okay, two more definition. Now there is something called as, yes, two more definitions over here. Yes, Alnoor, Ankit, Afridi, Arpit, very good. Two more definitions I wanted to discuss over here. One is called as exteroceptive sensation. Exteroceptive sensation. And remember guys, it is sensation from the skin. Sensation from the skin, right? Like the pain, touch, or temperature. And we have something called as proprioceptive sensation. And remember, it is sensation from muscles, ligaments, joints, right? So that is something you have to remember, right? So that is sensation from muscles, ligaments, joints, even the fascias, guys, the passive movement, everything. So that is about the exteroceptive or proprioceptive sensations. Now there is one more thing that I will be talking about, that is ipsilateral and contralateral. Ipsilateral and contralateral. Now when I say ipsilateral, guys, I am talking about the same side of the body. Ipsilateral means same side of the body. And contralateral means, okay, opposite sides of the body. Opposite sides of the body. Now, if in very simple language, I have to like tell you guys, if I'm taking right upper limb and if I'm simultaneously taking the right lower limb, right upper limb and right lower limb, so they are the same sides of the body. They are called as ipsilateral. Now, when I say contralateral, I'm taking right upper limb and left lower limb. So right and left, like they are, I'm taking right upper limb and left lower limb. So they are the opposite sides of the body. This is something called as, yes, contralateral. One more definition that I wanted to discuss over here. Okay, I can try it over here. Yes. Okay. That is something called as decussation, guys. You might be know many of the times I will be using this term decussation. Decussation basically means now crisscross of two fellow tracks, or I can simply say the two spinal nerves, guys, right? It's like this. So whenever there is a crisscross of two fellow tracks in the midline of the body, in the midline, that is something called as decussation. In the midline, one nerve going like this and the other nerve going like this, and they're crossing each other in the midline of the body, and that is something called as decussation. And that is something called as the decussation, guys. That is something called as the decussation. So that is no, in short, about the basic definitions that we have discussed. So as of now, we have discussed the anatomical division of the nervous system, right? We have discussed the parts of the brain in short, the spinal segments. We have discussed the spinal nerves, and you already know about the cranial nerves, right? We have discussed the functional organization. We have discussed the cellular organization. We have discussed the structure of the neuron. We have discussed the basic definition, how, like, what is this gang yeah, what is this ganglia, guys? Ganglia, it is always in the peripheral nervous system. Now, when I will be talking dorsal root ganglion, guys, so it should be clear in your mind when I say dorsal root ganglion. So it should be like very much clear in your mind ki sir is talking about that it is the gray matter and it is the group of cell bodies which is like called as the ganglion, which is called as the ganglion, right? So that is something you have to remember. Now, coming on to these cells, guys, that is okay, let's first quickly discuss about these cells. The okay, one of yeah, we have discussed the neuroglia or the glial cells, the supporting cells in the CNS. We have like four main types, right? The astrocytes, ependymal, oligodendrites, and microglia. So I will be discussing all the cells like one by one in a very short part, and we have Schwann cells and satellite cells, right? So let us just try to discuss this. Now, the very first one, the astrocytes, guys, you can very well see over here that this cell, it is basically star shaped, right? This is star shaped. And second important function of the cell, okay, before the function, it is like the most abundant cell. Remember, guys, it is the most abundant cell, okay, or the glial cell, most abundant glial cell, right? Important function over here which you have to remember, it helps in formation of blood brain barrier. It helps in formation of blood brain barrier. It helps in the formation of the blood brain barrier. Blood brain barrier, guys, right? Now, what is this blood brain barrier, beta? It will restrict the movement of substances between the blood, and in the brain we have the interstitial fluid, right? So it will restrict the movement of no toxins present in the blood to enter the brain, guys, otherwise the brain will get destroyed, right? That is the sole reason these astrocytes, because of these long appendages, right, they are actually forming this blood brain barrier, the foot processes of these astrocytes, right? So again, these can exchange no with capillaries also. They also perform a function of exchange, guys. They also perform a function of exchange, right, with the capillaries, exchange between capillaries and neurons, right? So that is something that you have to remember. Coming on to the next one, guys, these are the microglial cells, right? These are the small cells, guys, that you can see over here. These are the small cells with slender processes, very thin processes are there, right? Very thin processes are there. So small cells with slender processes are there, right? Okay, so they have one function that is called as the phagocytic function. They have one function that is called as the phagocytic function, guys. That is, you have to remember the phagocytic function. Coming on to the next one, these are the ependymal cells. Basically, these ependymal cells, basically, they line the ventricles of the brain, guys. They line the ventricles of the brain, and that is even the central canal of the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, in between we have the central canal, guys, right? In between we have the central canal, right? So this is the central canal of the spinal cord. So that is, these cells are basically surrounding the ventricles of the brain. Can anyone tell me the ventricles of the brain, guys? How many ventricles are there? And the central canal of spinal cord, right? Plus the blood capillaries, right? So basically what happens now, along with the ependymal cells, basically the blood capillaries, they together will form something called as the choroid plexus. Yes, Osama, three ventricles. Okay. Uh, mhm. The choroid plexus, which secretes the cerebrospinal fluid, So that is something you have to remember about these cells also, right? They secrete four ventricles. I'll note four ventricles. Okay. They secrete the cerebrospinal fluid. Apart from that, guys, you already know about the oligodendrocytes. So basically, these oligodendrocytes, they form the myelin sheath around the CNS, guys. Now, guys, you already know we have this. Yes. Okay. Guys, you already know we have the central nervous system, right? We have the central nervous system and we have the peripheral nervous system. So in the central nervous system, basically the structure is basically of a neuron, and in the peripheral nervous system, we also have neurons, right? Central nervous system means the brain and the spinal cord. They are composed of these neurons, and peripheral nervous system, the nerves, they are also containing these neurons. So the central nervous system, basically the myelin sheath in the central nervous system, it is basically formed by these oligodendrocytes. Oligodendrocytes, remember. And in the peripheral nervous system, yes, in the peripheral nervous system, yes, we have the Schwann cells. We call it as Schwann cells, guys. We call it as Schwann cells, which form the myelin sheath, in peripheral nervous system, and oligodendrocytes are the ones which will form the myelin sheath in the central nervous system. Now coming on to the next one, guys, that is the satellite and the Schwann cells. Basically, the satellite cells have the property of insulation of the peripheral nervous system, because these both are cells of what? Peripheral nervous system, right? The microglial cells, right? The glial cells actually. So that is something you have to remember. So in nutshell, basically we have this table which I have taken from the book, right? They have like written all the things that we have discussed right now. So this is something which you can just copy after I will be sharing the slide. Okay. So that is about the cells, the cellular organization of the nervous system, the neurons and the microglial cells, along with certain definitions that will help to you to remember the microglial cells and all, right? So I hope this is clear up till now. The basic definitions are done and these cells are also done. Now coming on to the structural classification of neurons, guys, coming on to the structural classification of neurons, and that is something you guys already know. That is something you guys already know. Let us just quickly revise this because I will be teaching this yes, I will be teaching this. Yeah. So let us just I'll be using these names. So the very first one, based on the structural classification, we have the multipolar neurons. So multipolar neurons, you guys can very well see in the picture. There are many dendrites, right? There are many dendrites, right? And along with that, we have only one axon, guys. We have only one axon. We have many dendrites and we have only one axon. Okay, that is extending from the cell body. That is extending from the cell body, right? So we have many dendrites and we have one, yes, axon. Right now, this multipolar neurons, they are found like in various anatomical regions, right? They are found in the gray matter of like, okay, this cerebral cortex, right? The cerebral cortex, the cerebellar cortex, right? Now, when I say cerebral cortex, I'm talking about the gray matter, the cerebellar cortex, gray matter, and even in the anterior horn of the spinal cord. Now what are these cortex, guys? As of now, just mention it. I will be discussing it in detail, guys, when I will be discussing the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and I will be today discussing the anterior horn of the spinal cord. So just try to mention it over here. I will be discussing it in detail, guys. Absolutely no need to worry. Now coming on to the next one, guys, we have the bipolar neurons. Now bipolar neurons, you can see that there are two processes, guys. There are two processes. One process is giving rise to the dendrite, right? And one process it is giving rise to the axon, right? So we have a central process and a peripheral process. We have a central process over here and a peripheral process, right? So that is the central one, which is the axon bala part. We have the dendrites, right? So they are basically found in the retina of the eye. They are found in the retina of the eye, right? And along with that, they are also found in the inner ear. They are also found in the inner ear, guys, right? So that is something you have to remember. Coming on to the third one, that is the unipolar neurons. Now this cell body has a short process, guys, the single short process, and from that process basically two processes are coming out. One is the central process that is giving rise to the axon, right? And the peripheral process which is giving rise to the dendrites. The peripheral process which is giving rise to the dendrites. So one process basically extending from the cell body, a very short process that is bifurcating into two. One, the central process means it will be the part of the CNS, and the other, I mean not the part of the CNS. One is the central process will be carrying the information. Yeah. And one is the peripheral information that will be carrying the information from the, okay. Now let me just try to draw and explain you this. Okay. Now let us suppose this is the transverse section of spinal cord, guys. I'm just trying to draw it in a very short form, right? So now we have a dorsal root, guys. We have the posterior part through which one nerve is coming. Okay, one nerve is coming, and over here we have this no unipolar neurons. So it is carrying the impulses from outside, right? It is carrying the impulses from outside via the peripheral process, and it is giving the information to the spinal cord via the central process. It is giving the information via the central process, that is the axon, and it is collecting the information from outside via the peripheral process known as the, yes, the this the dendrites part, the dendrite part, right? So that is something I will be discussing in detail. And we have anaxonic neuron. Basically, you can see over here there are no axons, guys. There is no axon, only dendrites are there. Along with the cell body, we have only dendrites present, right? So this unipolar or pseudo unipolar neuron, it is basically present in the, okay, the spinal ganglia, the spinal ganglia, the dorsal root ganglia, the dorsal root ganglia, right? So I will be discussing the spinal ganglion, dorsal root ganglion. So absolutely no need to worry about this, right? So that was regarding this neurons, right? Now, guys, we have something called as the functional classification of the neurons, right? The functional classification of the neurons, and you guys already know about this. You guys already know about this because we have already discussed, guys. We have, yes, we have the sensory neurons, guys. We have the sensory neurons. We have already discussed this. The neurons of the sensory nervous system, right? So these are also called as the efferent neurons. Okay, Rani se yaad rakhna hai. We have receptor. Then from the receptor, what is going? Yes, we have the sensory neuron. We have the sensory neuron. It is going where, guys? It is going to the nerve center. Now center is two in our body. There are two in our body. We have the brain and the spinal cord. Now from this nerve center, we have this interneuron, right? We have this interneuron, and interneuron is giving rise to this motor neuron, and it is going to this muscle. So we have motor neuron. Motor neuron, it is also called as, yes, the efferent neuron. The efferent neuron. The sensory neuron, it is also called as the efferent neuron. Efferent, aane wali, right? Efferent, and then we have the effector. Effector, that is in the form of muscles. That is in the form of muscles. So that is the basic classification you should know. We have the sensory neurons, we have like motor neurons, right? And we have interneurons. The third one, that is the interneurons, sensory, motor, and interneurons. Interneurons, obviously, they are already present inside only in the CNS, right? Only in the CNS, only in the CNS. So that is in the functional classification of neurons, right? So I hope this is clear up till now, guys. Just give me a thumbs up if it is clear, guys, to everyone. Yes, yes. From receptor, sensory neurons, right? In the nerve center, we have like the interneurons. They will relay and pass the information to the motor neurons, and they will again come to the muscles, right? So that is something you have to remember. So just give me a thumbs up, guys, if it is done, dusted, clear. Yeah. Hmm. Sure. Afridi, okay, guys. I'm waiting for more thumbs up, guys. So like, yeah, I have to discuss the gross anatomy of the spinal now. I have to discuss the gross anatomy, and after that, I will be starting with the spinal cord in detail, guys. So yes, yes. Let us just try to discuss the gross anatomy of the spinal nerve over here. Gross anatomy. Now, now just try to listen, guys, over here. Yes. Samhita, Rajesh, Kelvin, very good, guys. What about rest, guys? Others alive or went? Hmm. Sure. No, not an issue, guys. Let us just discuss, because yes, whatever we are discussing, it is like these are all basics, guys. But yeah, everyone should know before starting with the main part of the neuroanatomy, and that is something like very important note to discuss from the scratch. If you don't know these things, like it will be difficult for me to know. When I will be talking about ganglion, nucleus, tract, funiculus, lemniscus, again you will get confused. What is gray matter, white matter? So you should know from the scratch, guys. Right? That is the toughest topic in the anatomy, and this will be crystal clear if you like basically start from the scratch. Now, when we see the gross anatomy of the spinal cord, now guys, let us just suppose that this is the spinal cord. I'm taking the spinal cord and I am cutting the spinal cord like this. So I'm taking a transverse section of the spinal cord. I'm cutting the spinal cord like this, and I'm taking a transverse section of the spinal cord over here. So I'm not drawing the spinal cord as of, I will be discussing the transverse section in detail, guys. I'm cutting it and I'm just looking at what is there. So we have, you already know, guys, yes. So yes, we have these, yes, the butterfly shape, we have the gray matter, and outside we have the white matter. So everything I think you can appreciate, we have the gray matter and outside we have the white matter. White matter. Now, if I ask you what is gray matter made up of? Gray matter of the spinal cord is made up of, guys, try to answer this. Gray matter of the spinal cord is made up of? What is gray matter? What is gray matter, guys? We have just discussed. I want you to answer what is this gray matter, what is this white matter over here. So we have like a butterfly shaped over here, that is the gray matter. We have the white matter. I'm not coming on to the parts. Yes, Osama, very good. It is the collection of the axons, right? It's a collection of axons or the cell bodies. White matter, it is basically the collection of, yes, white matter, it is basically the collection of, देखो white किसकी वजह से आता है, myelin sheath की वजह से, तो basically white will be the collection of axon, बेटा ना Osama. So gray matter is the collection of cell bodies, na? Gray matter is the collection of cell bodies. So listen, guys. That is something I want you to know. I've already told you, na, guys. So for example, these are the neurons, right? These are the neurons, right? So we have like multiple neurons, right? So these are the axons. Axons basically they are having myelin sheath. So this myelin sheath is giving something which is called as the white color. So this is called as the white matter. And these cell bodies, basically they will be gray matter. They will be gray matter, right? Myelinated axon, yes, obviously I told you. Hmm. Osama, I think it's clear. Yes, collection of cell bodies is gray. Yes, Naveen, good. Now, guys, spinal nerves. Now, be very clear with the statement, guys, that I'm using right now over here. Okay, let me just try to. Okay. Okay, let us just try to see over here, guys. Now, when I say spinal nerves, guys, when I say spinal nerves, now the spinal nerves, basically they anchor to spinal cord by two roots. By two roots. They anchor to spinal cord by two roots, guys. One root, it is the posterior root. It is the posterior root, or also called as the dorsal root. Also called as the dorsal root. And the other one, it is called as the anterior root, or it is also called as the ventral root. Ventral root. Now guys, let me just try to draw it, guys, and that is something which will make you more understandable, right? So let us suppose that this is the spinal cord. Spinal cord, right? This is the spinal cord, and we are taking transverse section right now. Transverse section. We have cut the spinal cord, and this is how the spinal cord looks like. In between over here, we have this, yes. Yes, we have the central canal in between, right? I will be coming to the transverse section, no need to worry. Right now, what I'm telling you, this is the gray matter. This is the gray matter of the spinal cord, and outside we have white matter. Outside we have white matter. Gray matter is in the form of this butterfly shape. Butterfly shape. Now, what is happening, guys? We have the spinal nerves. This is the spinal cord, guys. This is the spinal cord, right? This is the entire spinal cord. Now, the the spinal nerves, basically they anchor to the spinal cord by two roots, right? So we have one root, guys, right? We have one root, and that is called as the dorsal root of the spinal cord. Even if you just want to see, you can see the dorsal root of the spinal cord, right? And we have one root over here also, guys. Yes, this is the ventral root. So the spinal nerves are having two roots, guys. One it is having the dorsal root, and one it is having the ventral root. The dorsal root. Now, guys, remember, guys, if I just want to tell you, if I'm dividing the spinal cord like this, the uppermost part, remember, guys, always remember, okay, if I'm taking this from anterior to posterior, guys, anterior to posterior, always dorsal means posterior side only, posterior part of the spinal cord. Always, guys, remember the posterior part, it is always related with the sensory neurons. It is always related with the sensory neurons. And the anterior part, guys, will be related with the motor neurons, will be related with the motor neurons, right? Will be related with the motor neurons, right? So that is what is shown in the picture also. If you can just see, we have the dorsal root and we have the ganglion. Now, can anyone tell me what is ganglion, guys? Can anyone tell me what is this ganglion, guys? I'm waiting for your answers and you are going to tell me कि sir ganglion क्या आता है. तो ये जो dorsal root है of spinal nerve, nerves obviously spinal cord से निकल रही हैं, coming to the spinal nerves, right? So these are the spinal nerves which are now coming, and these are nothing. These are which unipolar neurons, right? Now, Mastan wali group of cell bodies. Group of cell. What cell? Axon या bodies? Beta, again, I have told you right now. Just try to look at this, guys. Now, group of cell bodies. Cell body यही हो गई ना पूरी येलो वाली जो है. Group of cell bodies. Together it is called as gray matter. PNS में हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं? Peripheral nervous system. देखो obviously बात है, spinal nerve बाहर की तरफ है तो ये ganglia बन गया. Ganglia क्या है? In the peripheral nervous system, the gray matter, that is nothing but the group of cell bodies. That is nothing but the group of cell bodies. Yes, Samir. Very good. So that is something I think you can understand. What is this ganglion now? Yeah, it is the group of cell bodies. So we have a ganglion over here. We have a ganglion over here that is called as the dorsal root ganglion. That is called as the dorsal root ganglion. And yeah, you can see that ganglion, it is basically made up of the sensory neuron, guys. Obviously, the posterior part, I'm telling you, it is for the sensory neuron, guys. Sensory neuron is coming. Okay, means we have the dorsal root ganglion. It is the unipolar neuron, guys. It is unipolar neuron. I have already told you the unipolar neuron has two processes, right? One, it is the central process. One, it is the dendritic process, right? The central process will take the information to the nerve center. Okay, we have this interneuron, and from the interneuron, basically this nerve will come. Okay, the nerve will come. We have like two types of information, automatic and somatic, guys. We have already discussed this, right? Automatic and somatic, the motor system, right? Somatic basically means, guys, the skeletal muscles, over here. Automatic means visceral. Visceral means internal. And this visceral is nothing but the cardiac muscles, the smooth muscles, right? In which we don't have any control, the smooth muscles, right? The cardiac muscles, right? So that is something you have to remember. Samita, yes, you're right. Kelvin, right. Naveen, right. So that is about the gross anatomy of the spinal nerve. That is about the gross anatomy, right? So I hope you can just relate. We have a ventral root, we have a dorsal root of the spinal nerve, we have a dorsal root ganglion, right? And ganglion is basically the collection of the cell bodies, right? So that is about the gross anatomy of the spinal nerve. Now, guys, from here, I will be starting with the spinal cord. I will be starting with the spinal cord and I will be drawing a lot of diagrams. Earlier, guys, these parts were like the basic parts that I want you to discuss. I wanted to discuss with you guys. That's why I have like discussed it in very short, right? But now everything will be covered in detail, guys, because I will be starting from the spinal cord, and that is exactly from where this part will the neuroanatomy part will be starting, right? So let us start with the spinal cord, guys. The spinal cord. I hope till now everything is clear, guys. I hope till now everything is clear. Just to tell you a little bit about the basics only, we have discussed that, right? So just give me a thumbs up, guys, if everything is clear as of now. Yes. Samir Shivapur, okay, beta. What about rest, guys? What about rest? I will be discussing each part of the spinal cord in detail. No need to worry. I'll be discussing the arterial supply, the blood supply, all the tracks. So yes, Afridi, very good. Samhita Rajesh, very good, very good. What about rest? Kelvin, very good, guys, very good. Hmm. Yes, just a moment. Please. Let me have some. I hope you guys are not tired because again, some parts are left and I wanted to discuss it today only. Yes. Hmm. Shakil Ahmed, Ravi Teja, yes, Mastan, very good, guys. Let us just discuss some parts over here. Yeah. Bolo, Naveen, just type it in the chat box. I'll be answering it. Hmm. No, ventral में बेटा it is always the multipolar neurons. Ventral root में हमेशा हमने बताया था ना multipolar neurons होते हैं, right? So let us start with the spinal cord. So you already know the spinal cord. It is okay part of the CNS. You already know it is part of the central nervous system, right? Enclosed within the vertebral column, enclosed within the vertebral canal or yeah, the vertebral foramen or the canal, right? Yes. Now, guys, you already know the central nervous system has two parts, the brain and the spinal cord. Now, the spinal cord, basically, it is having a shape, and that shape you guys already know it is compressed cylindrical shape. Okay, it is a compressed cylindrical shape, or I can say cylindrical column, right? It is a compressed cylindrical column, right? Now, guys, what is the site and extent? What is the site and extent? Now, guys, you already know the spinal cord, it is running. Okay, we have a bone behind, guys, a cranial bone. Can anyone tell that? Okay, I will tell the name, the occipital bone. The occipital bone has a foramen. Can anyone tell me the name of the foramen present in the occipital bone? There is a foramen like behind from where the spinal cord is passing, guys. Anyone in the chat box who would like to tell? Yeah. Hmm. Yes, Osama, it is the foramen magnum, guys. It is the foramen magnum. Abukar, yes, it is the foramen magnum. Now, we already discussed in the basics कि lower part of the medulla oblongata, it will give rise to the spinal cord. Okay, so it is starting from this foramen magnum. It is starting from this foramen magnum. Samhita Kelvin, very good, right? You already know. Now, let us just assume that no, if a child is no growing, right? So, okay, will the vertebra and the spinal cord, vertebra is a bone and spinal cord, you already know it's a part of the central nervous system. Vertebra has a canal, that is the vertebral canal through which the spinal cord is passing. We have different vertebra, the cervical vertebra, the thoracic vertebra. So the length of the spinal cord and the vertebra will be like same as in adults, guys? Will it be same as in adults? No, obviously not, guys. So remember the site, guys. It occupies. Obviously no, beta. Obviously no. Yes. Huh. Obviously no, guys. Yes. Why no? Because you already know the site it actually occupies part of the vertebral canal, occupies the upper part of vertebral canal, right? Now it's being 25 centimeter less than 25 centimeter less than the length of vertebral column in adults. Okay. Now the spinal cord, it is less than like approximately it is 25 centimeter less than the vertebral column in adults, right? The vertebral length in adults, right? Now, if I ask you what is the length of the spinal cord, remember it is 45 centimeters in length. It is 45 centimeters in length, right? It is 45 centimeter in length. We will be discussing this, guys. So absolutely no need to worry. Now, when I say the beginning, guys, the beginning of okay. Again, some book says it is the lower part of the no, foramen magnum, but guys, let me just tell you the vertebral column, I mean the vertebrae of our body, the cervical, the thoracic, the lumbar, the sacral, the coccygeal vertebra, and the spinal cord, they have a differential growth, guys, right? To okay, the pace, or I can say the speed at which the vertebrae are growing, it is not exactly the speed at which spinal cord is growing. It is entirely different, guys. Vertebra is going a little, I mean, growing a little faster as compared to the spinal cord. So spinal cord will not go to the same length, guys, as the vertebrae are going, Obviously, vertebra will be extending more, but the spinal cord, it is not growing at such a rapid phase like the vertebra. So remember, guys, yes, in adults, guys. So beginning and termination, you have to discuss in two ways in adults and in neonates. In neonates, right? Now in adults, guys, remember the best answer over here, it is not the foramen magnum, guys. Okay, below the occipital bone, which vertebra is present? Below the occipital bone, the first vertebra, what it is called as? The first vertebra, guys, what it is called as? In adults, it is from, yes, atlas, very good. Osama, Cheetah, I don't know. Naveen, yes. ठीक है समीर समिता abukar, very good Samir, very good. Now guys, the in adults it is from, yes, C1. Now when I say C1, guys, it is the cervical vertebra, right? The cervical vertebra 1 to lower border of L1, to lower border of L1. Now when I say L1, guys, I'm saying about the lumbar vertebra 1. It is the beginning and termination in adults. It's the beginning and termination in adults, guys. It's the beginning and termination in adults. It's the beginning and termination in adults, right? It is from the cervical vertebra to the lower border of L1, that is the lumbar vertebra, right? Now in neonates, it is C1, that is the cervical vertebra 1 to upper border of L3, upper border of L3. L3 means the lumbar vertebra 3, the lumbar vertebra 3. Now let us just try to draw it, guys. Now let us just try to draw it, guys, and that is something which you will understand over here. Yeah. Just drink. Hmm. Now, let me just explain you guys. Then I will be coming. Now let us suppose that this is the base of the skull. This is the okay. Let me just write it over here so that I'll draw a little bit down. Now, guys, if this is the base of the skull, and this is exactly the place from where the foramen magnum is there, right? The foramen magnum is there, right? The foramen magnum is there, and from the foramen magnum, this spinal cord it is coming out. So this spinal cord it is like coming like this. Initially, only it will have one of the enlargement. I will be coming to these enlargement also. I will be coming to these enlargement also, guys. But before that, let's just discuss firstly where it is. Yeah, we have one enlargement in the cervical region and one enlargement in the lumbar region, right? And guys, remember this is ending at the terminal part of this spinal cord. It is called as yes. Yes, I will be giving you that is the terminal part of the spinal cord that is called as the conus medullaris. That is the conus medullaris. Right. So we have the terminal part of the spinal cord, terminal part of spinal cord that is called as the conus medullaris. Now, guys, if I tell you it is at which vertebral level, can anyone tell me the conus medullaris? It is ending at which vertebral level, guys? Over here. Okay, which vertebral level it will be? Which vertebral level? Yes, in adults it is at which vertebral level? Yes, we have L1. Yes, very good, very good. Yes, we have this L1 over here. The lumbar vertebra 1. The lumbar vertebra 1. Yes, yes. Naveen, Samir, Samhita, Shakil, very good, very good. It is the lower, okay, what have we have written? From first cervical vertebra to the lower border of L1. So at least below the base of the skull, we have the first cervical vertebra, right? The first cervical vertebra we have, right? C1, and it is ending into the lower border of L1. Lower border of L1. Now guys, remember over here, yes, below the L1, yes, below, okay, that is something which we actually know, the L1, right? And in the neonates, it is the, yes, the upper border of L3. It's the upper border of L3. So in the neonates, obviously, guys, obviously, the pace at which the spinal cord is growing is not exactly the speed at which the vertebrae are growing. So vertebrae are going more fast, spinal cord is basically less. So it is only up till the lower border of the L1, lower border of the L1. So I hope this is clear, guys. This is clear. I hope you understood this particular part, right? I hope you like understood this part. Now, I will be talking about the meninges of the spinal cord over here in this diagram only. But let us just try to okay. Now vertebra, it is not ending over here, guys. It is exactly not ending over here. It is again going to a thin extension from the conus medullaris. It is again going to, yes, dorsum of the coccygeal vertebra. It is again going to the dorsum of which vertebra? Coccygeal vertebra in a very thin line. And that is something called as, yes, the phylum terminal. Okay, that is, I will be discussing this structure entirely. This structure, guys, it is called as phylum terminal, or I can just make it like this. Yes, this structure, it is called as the phylum terminal. Phylum terminal. Now, what is phylum terminal? Basically, it is a thin extension of the conus medullaris, which is going to the dorsum of the coccygeal vertebra. It's basically a thin line, guys, that is going to the dorsum of the coccygeal vertebra. That is considered as this phylum terminal, guys. That is the phylum terminal, right? That is the phylum terminal. Now, guys, over here we have two swellings that I have shown you over here. One, it is called as the lumbar enlargement, and the other one, it is called as the sacral. Okay, I just mentioned it wrong. The upper one will be the cervical enlargement because it's present in the cervical region, and the other one will be the lumbar enlargement, right? The lumbar enlargement. Hmm. The lumbar enlargement. I will be coming to the no external features of the spinal cord in a bit. But as of now, just remember it is the lower border of the L1 where this spinal cord is ending, guys, right? And the ending part of the spinal cord, it is called as the conus medullaris. Okay, it's the terminal part of the spinal cord, which gives off a very thin line, which is going to the dorsum of this or the dorsal part of the coccygeal vertebra. That is the phylum terminal, right? So it's an extension of this conus medullaris only, right? No, 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 Kelvin, right? So now, guys, hmm, okay. Now, before that, let us just talk. I will be coming to this diagram again, but before that, let us just try to talk about this spinal meninges, guys. The spinal meninges. We have just talked about there are enlargements. I will be coming to these enlargements in a bit. Let us first talk about the spinal meninges or the coverings of the spinal cord. Now, remember, guys, the spinal cord, it is basically covered by. If I'm taking a transverse section of the spinal cord, let me like draw it nicely over here. If I'm taking a transverse section of the spinal cord, now this is I've taken the transverse section of spinal cord. Okay. Now what is happening, guys? The spinal cord. Okay. In between, you already know we have this. Yes, we have this gray matter, right? Right, we have this gray matter, the white matter is there, and obviously in between we have the central canal, right? We have the horns. I will be coming on to the transfer section, but let us first talk about the coverings of the spinal cord. The spinal cord, it is tightly adherent to one of the meninges or one of the membranes, guys, and that is called as the pia mater. It is, yes, it is called as the pia mater, guys. It is called as the pia mater. Now, guys, I have not shown over here, but there is yes, there is a median fissure also. Anteriorly we have a fissure also, and that pia mater, it is also going inside this fissure, So okay, we'll come on to that part also. But remember, guys, this is exactly what we call it as the pia mater, right? We have this pia mater from inside to outside. So the spinal cord, it is basically covered with this pia mater, right? Then we have, yes, you already know we have the outermost lining, guys, over here. Okay, which matter it will be? Yes, we have the arachnoid matter. Yes, this is which? Arachnoid matter. Arachnoid matter. And beyond this, guys, yes, the outermost will be the dura matter. Yes, the outermost will be the dura mater, guys, right? This is the dura mater. And obviously outside we have the vertebral canal, right? We have this, I'm just erasing this transverse section just to make the diagram more. Yeah, we have this. Yes, we have the three matters of the spinal cord, and that is guys, you already know right now. And this is nothing but the vertebral canal. Vertebral canal, guys. Right? So, so now in the vertebral canal, we have this no spinal cord is there, right? The spinal cord, the transverse section of the spinal cord, we have this pia mater from inside to outside. From inside to outside, guys, you already know we have pia mater, then we have arachnoid matter, yes, and then we have dura matter. Dura matter, right? P means pass. It will be more closer to the spinal cord, right? Yes, 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 Ankit, it's like same. Then we have arachnoid matter and then we have dura matter. Now, guys, again, if I just want to tell you the, yes, this area which I'm highlighting, it will be having, yeah, the space called as the subarachnoid space, right? This red one will be the subarachnoid space. Now, just below the dura mater, guys, this space entirely will be called as the subdural space, right? The subdural space. We have the subarachnoid space, subdural space, and outside, guys, remember, yes, this part, we will be having epidural space. Yeah, we will be having this epidural space. So that is something you can highlight it on your own. This is the epidural space. Right? So that is the coverings of the spinal cord. That is the spinal meninges, guys, that you have to remember. That is the spinal meninges that you have to remember, right? From inside to outside, we have this, the spinal meninges, right? Pia mater, arachnoid, dura mater, right? So the pia mater, it is basically closely adherent. It is like sticking to the spinal cord. Okay, even it is going into the anterior fissure also. It's going in between there where is a fissure, a small gap is there, right? After that, we have the arachnoid mater, and between the pia and the arachnoid mater, we have the subarachnoid space. Between the pia and I mean between the arachnoid and the dura mater, we have the subdural space, and yeah, between the dura and this vertebral canal, we have the epidural space, right? Obviously, if it is below, it is subarachnoid. If it is below dura, it is subdural space, right? So that is something you have to remember over here. Now guys, just remember over here. Now, if we just look at this particular picture again, if we just look at this particular picture again, guys, I hope you all have drawn this, guys. I hope you have drawn all this, guys. I hope you all have drawn this, guys, right? Now, guys, the spinal cord, it is ending at the level of this L1 vertebra, the lower border of this vertebra. The spinal cord is ending at like conus medullaris, and the thin extension of this conus medullaris, it is called as phylum terminal. So the spinal cord automatically finishes here. But my question is like this the meninges, they are also like finishing at this particular space? Yes or no, guys? The meninges, the pia mater, the arachnoid matter, and the dura matter, are they also like ending up at the level of L1 only? No. No or yes, guys? Hmm. Obviously, no, guys. Obviously, no, they are not ending at the level of this L1 vertebra. So remember, guys, okay, we have drawn, yes, with blue and yes, with both the blue colors, right? So guys, remember, okay. No, no, no. They will extend further, guys. They will extend further. Yes, Samir, Samita, Ankit. Okay. Now what will happen, guys? Now this Yeah, you already know. We have something called as, yeah, the dura mater, which I have drawn. Yes. And we have this, yes, on both sides, the dura mater will be there. And to the dura mater, what will be there? Yes, we have this, yes, arachnoid matter also. Yes, the arachnoid matter also, right? So remember, guys, the dura mater and the arachnoid matter, they are not ending at the level of L1. They are going to the body of the second sacral vertebra. So they are going to, yes, let me just draw it. They are going to the body of, yes, the second sacral vertebra, S2. Sacral vertebra कितने थे? 5 थे ना? Sacral vertebra. So they are going to the body of the second sacral vertebra. So the dura and arachnoid matter, basically they extend to the body of second sacral vertebra. Yeah, I'm coming to the matter also. So yes. Now now guys, if I want to highlight this particular region, this region between L1 and S2, is there any spinal cord present over here? This particular region. Can anyone tell me, is there any spinal cord which is present over here? I'm coming to pia matter also. No worry. No, no, no. There is no spinal cord because spinal cord has already like ended at the level of L1, guys. So this space, guys, it is containing one fluid, and you already know this is the cerebrospinal fluid. The cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, and this is exactly the safe site. Okay, the safest site, again of clinical correlation, guys. Clinical correlation. Remember, it is the best site for lumbar puncture, or it is the most preferred site for lumbar puncture. Lumbar puncture. It is the most preferred site, and exactly what it is, yes, L3. Yes, it is L3 and L4 vertebra. L3 at the level of L3 and L4 vertebra, guys. It is the most preferred site. Obviously, from L1 to S2, you can go. From L1 to S2, you can go. From L1 to S2, you can go. The body of the S2, the body of the S2, the sacral vertebra body, that is the body of S2. Malab, we can do lumbar puncture anywhere, but out of this, obviously the middle part, the L3 and L4, it is exactly the place where no spinal cord is there, and the spinal, the cerebrospinal fluid is already present there, and we can now insert a needle and we can take out the cerebrospinal fluid like without damaging the spinal cord, obviously. So we are not taking other sides, guys. We are not taking from thoracic or from therefore, because there is a chance of no like destroying the spinal cord. So that is if I just have to show you guys, yes, if you can just see over here between the L3 and L4, guys, that is the most preferred side. We are inserting the needle and we are taking out this cerebrospinal fluid. That is something, yeah, that is something which is called as the lumbar puncture. Lumbar puncture, guys. Lumbar puncture, right? This is something called as the lumbar puncture, guys, right? So that is you have to remember, that is the lumbar puncture, guys, right? Is it clear, guys? Right? Why L3? We can go from L1 to S2, right? We can go from L1 to S2. But the most preferred site, it will be L3 and L4. Obviously, there is no spinal cord, and the dura mater and the arachnoid matter is like ending up there, and that is like we can take easily from there, right? Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear, everyone, guys? Like most preferred site for the lumbar puncture, it is this. Yes, the safest and the preferred site, it is L3 and L4. Now, guys, one more important thing that about the pia mater, guys. Pia mater, it is not ending at L1. It is not ending at S2. It is going up till coccygeal vertebra. It is going up till coccygeal vertebra, guys. So it is bounded with this, what we say, the phylum terminal, I mean the extension of the spinal cord, and it is going up till the coccygeal vertebra. It is going up till the coccygeal vertebra. So remember, guys, the phylum terminal has two parts. The phylum terminal has two parts, right? Yes, I hope you all understood, guys, this particular part. I hope you all understood. So yeah. Hmm. So the next heading, it is the processes of the pia mater or the special parts of the pia mater. The processes of the pia mater or the special parts of the pia mater. The very first one, guys, that we are going to discuss, it is phylum terminal. Phylum terminal. Phylum terminal. Now, remember, guys, the phylum terminal. If you just look at over here, the phylum terminal, it is a thin extension which is coming from the spinal, I mean the conus medullaris, and it is going to the coccygeal vertebra. So this phylum terminal, it is basically a modification of this pia mater only. It's modification of this pia mater only. But guys, over here, the phylum terminal in this region, okay, the phylum terminal, it is divided into two regions, guys. We have internus and we have externus. We have phylum terminal, which is divided into two regions, internus and externus, guys. Internus, this whole line is the phylum terminal, guys, from conus medullaris till coccygeal vertebra. Now, when I'm saying internus, guys, so it means that the phylum terminal, it is basically composed of only pia mater. Okay, so phylum terminal internus, okay, it is having two parts, internus and externus. Now, when I say phylum terminal internus, remember it is only the pia mater which is there, only the pia mater which is there, and phylum terminal externus. Again, guys, let us just try to look at this picture, and it will be like pretty clear to you guys that dura arachnoid and this yellow part, it is coming together in the midline, right? The dura mater, arachnoid matter, and this yellow color, that is the pia mater, they are together coming in the midline, and then it is going to the coccygeal vertebra. So that is the externus part. That is the externus part bit over here. That is the externus part over here. So that is the externus part. It is not only composed of this pia mater, guys. It is again the composition of this whole, what we say, this dura mater and arachnoid matter. They together are giving rise to this externus part. So externus, it is dura mater plus arachnoid matter plus pia matter. Now, if in the question, okay, now, phylum terminal, if they simply ask you, is a modification of, the single best answer is pia mater, because pia mater, it is present both. It is present in internus also, it is present in externus also, this yellow color part. But if, okay, if they ask you, the phylum terminal externus is a modification of pia mater, but along with that, we have dura and arachnoid matter also. So yes, the pia matter is like the single best answer. If like not, then you can just go with that. Even they can give you at the level of S2. Okay, now I want everyone to answer this question. Above the level of the sacral vertebra, the phylum terminal is a modification of which matter? Above the level of S2 vertebra, the phylum terminal is a modification of which Yes, anyone? It is only above the level of S2, guys. You have the, yeah, the pia mater, right? Yes, yes. And below the level of S2, it is like all the three, the dura, arachnoid, and the pia will come together, and it will give rise to this, right? So that is regarding this. Now, apart from that, yes. Hmm. Yes, everyone. Yes, right. Phylum meninges. Yeah, the phylum terminal is done. Right. Now the second part over here that we have to discuss in the processes, that is the linea splendens. Linea splendens. Now, linea means a line, and splendens means the white line, the white bright white line, white bright line. Now let us just see, guys. If you have the transverse section of the spinal cord, okay, let me draw it a bit nicer, guys. Otherwise, if you have the okay, if you have the transverse section of the spinal cord, guys, you can very well see that anteriorly we have a fissure. Anteriorly there is an opening, guys. Anteriorly we have a fissure, guys, right? And that is called as the, okay, this is anterior side, this is the posterior side. You're looking at the transverse section of the spinal cord. We are taking the transverse section of spinal cord over here, right? Now, which you can see over here, it is the anterior median fissure. Anterior median fissure, right? And posteriorly we have the posterior median septum. Posterior median means in the midline only, right? Median septum. And obviously we have this, yeah, the horns, yeah, right? And in between we have the central canal. Now, guys, as I told you that the pia mater, it is basically continuous. It is adherent to the spinal cord, right? It is adherent, it is bounded to the spinal cord, guys. We are discussing the processes. Now, this pia mater will also come into this between this fissure also. It will also occupy the space present in this fissure also. And that is exactly, it will look like this white bright line. It will exactly look like the white bright line. And that is filled with this space. It is filled with this anterior median fissure, filled with pia mater, filled with pia mater. And remember, it is a, see, it's just one section. The whole spinal cord is having this fissure in between. So what is happening? There will be a line-like appearance in the front of the spinal cord, in the interior part of the spinal cord. That is something which is called as the linea splendens, right? So pia mater is basically running on the surface also, and it is actually filling up this fissure also. That will again give this appearance as the white line appearance, right? Now, I hope this is clear, guys. I hope this is clear. Everyone, just give me a thumbs up. What is linea splendens? Yes, the linea splendens. I hope this is clear, guys. Phylum terminal, it is clear. The linea splendens, it is clear. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat box, guys. Hmm. I'm like waiting if you guys are writing along with me. Samir, okay. Perfect. Mirchi, Cheetah, I don't know what kind of names like you guys carry out over here. The third one, guys, the third one, remember we have one more modification that is called as, okay, I will be writing it on the next slide. The third one, yeah, Devraj, Samhita, okay. The third one that I will be like discussing with the modification over here, that is, okay, let me first discuss this, the third modification over here, that is called as ligamentum, ligamentum denticulatum, denticulatum. Now, spinal cord, if you just see the spinal cord in the longitudinal section, guys, if you just see the spinal cord like this, now Pia matter is adherent to this, right? You already know we have the pia matter, which is okay. I have taken this. Yeah, the pia matter, it is like adherent to this, right? The pia matter, it is like all over this, right? The pia matter, it is covering the entire spinal cord. Now, this pia matter, it is giving like tooth-like importance. I mean extensions. I can say, okay, let it be. It is giving these tooth-like extensions over here, guys. This pia matter, it is giving these tooth-like extensions on the sides, and that is something which you already know. This is called as, yeah, which is connecting this pia matter. Now this is something which you already know. This is the, yeah, the pia matter, right? It is giving these tooth-like extensions which you can see over here, and it is connecting the pia matter to one of the matter outside over here. That is the arachnoid matter. Yeah, we have one matter outside. That is the, this is spinal cord. This is spinal cord, right? And basically adherent to this, we have this pia matter. We have this pia matter, and this pia matter is basically giving these tooth-like projections, right? Tooth-like extensions, tooth-like extensions on side of the spinal cord, on side of spinal cord, right? Which is connecting the spinal cord to which matter, guys? Arachnoid matter. We have outside pia matter, we have arachnoid matter, right? Tooth-like projections made of pia matter. Basically, these are ligamentum, denticulation. Can you see these? These are dent-like structures, like dent-like structures are present over here, right? Now, ligamentum, denticulatum, guys, has some surgical importance, guys. They have some surgical importance. I just wanted to discuss that. Since because they lie exactly in the midline, guys, now of the spinal cord is in the midline, and obviously the pia matter adhering to it is also in the midline. It is always used by the surgeons as a surgical landmark, guys. No, whenever the surgeons know they are trying to do sectioning of the spinal cord, or they are trying to cut the spinal cord, I mean, for example, for interactable pain or something, like they are cutting the dorsal horn of the spinal cord. So basically, what these surgeons they do, they actually stop at this particular tooth-like extensions. The ligamentum, denticulatum, basically it acts as a neurosurgical landmark for like sectioning of the this spinal cord, guys. Otherwise it will be like gone, guys. So that is something you have to remember, right? Now, guys, again, I'm telling you the total number of total ligamentum denticulatum, guys. Total ligamentum denticulatum. Again, guys, you will see कि sir यहाँ तो बहुत सारे दिख रहे, but it is only one and two. One and two. There are only two, guys. Two. One on right side and one on left side. There are only two. Basically, don't go in projections. If you ask me, sir, every ligament has like 21 pairs of projection. 21 pairs of projection. Every ligament has 21 pairs of projections. Every ligament has 21 pairs of projection. So that is something you have to remember. So that is about the modifications of these pia matter. I hope this is like clear to everyone. So these, you can see these yeah, the tooth-like extensions of these pia mater, these are called as ligamentum denticulatum, right? So now I hope this is clear, guys. I hope this is clear. Just give me a thumbs up, guys, if this is clear to everyone. If this is clear to everyone, just give me a thumbs up, guys. Now, I'm like waiting for you people to answer. Yes, the processes of the spinal cord, I hope it is clear, right? spinal meninges I have done, like the spinal cord. The basic part is clear. Now coming on to the external features of the spinal cord. External features of the spinal cord. So yes. Hmm. Clear, Samir, Riti, Cheeta, Samita, Ankit, clear. I hope you guys are not tired now. It's like already 2 hours. But anyways, I'll be like continuing to teach you guys, because I'll continue to teach you because I have to complete this today anyhow, because otherwise it will be. Now guys, external features we already know. I have already told you. Anteriorly we have a fissure, guys, that is called as the anterior median fissure, guys. We have if we see the transverse section of the spinal cord, guys, I have told you we have a fissure, guys, right? And that fissure, it is extending like and posteriorly we have a sulcus, that is the posterior median sulcus. Posterior median sulcus, right? And anteriorly we have a fissure that is called as the anterior median fissure. Anterior median fissure, guys, right? So that is something. So this anterior median fissure, it is basically like in the midline, and it is extending, like it is extending throughout, right? So this fissure, it is basically filled with the pia mater, and it obviously looks like a white bright line, no, in the front, guys. So that is one of the external features that you can see over here. One of the external features that you can see over here. Apart from that, guys, okay, in the external features, we have already like discussed one or two parts. That is we have discussed about the fissures. Okay, the cervical and the lumbar enlargement and the Cauda equina. This is something, guys, I will be like teaching you again. Okay, now now this is the median sulcus and the anterior median fissure. Median sulcus and the anterior median fissure. Now guys, I just wanted to, okay, just go back to the diagram, and we have two enlargements, guys, that you already know, the cervical enlargement and the lumbar enlargement. The cervical enlargement and the lumbar enlargement, right? So now guys, you already know why, what is the reason, guys, we have like, okay, we have two swellings, guys, in the spinal cord. What is the reason, guys, we have the two swellings in the spinal cord? Why the spinal cord cannot be like cylindrical in nature? Why it cannot be like cylindrical in nature? What is the reason, guys, why it cannot be cylindrical in nature? Now guys, you already know, in our body we have two limbs, guys, the upper limb and the lower limb. Upper limb, the nerves which supply to the upper limb, the nerves which supply to the upper limb, they are actually called as the brachial plexus. The brachial plexus. The brachial plexus basically coming from C5 to T1, the cervical spinal nerve 5 to thoracic spinal nerve 1, right? So that, so now you already know the the spinal cord. It is basically coming from the neural tube. The neural tube is the one which will give rise to the spinal cord. And yes, when the upper limb and the lower limb develops, we have like more amount of gray matter in these regions, right? Because you already know, obviously the spinal cord will be like giving rise to the nerves, because the upper limb and the lower limb, they are developing late. So they are the collection of the gray matter over here in the cervical part and the lumbar part, and that is why these enlargements are there. There is more amount of gray matter over there, so that when these upper limbs and lower limbs are developed, they can supply the nerves to these particular parts, right? They can supply the nerves to these particular part. That is why we have the cervical enlargement and the lumbar enlargement. So in the external features, guys, you should remember, we have the posterior median sulcus, we have the anterior median fissure, we have, yes, the cervical enlargement, the cervical enlargement, and we have the lumbar enlargement. Lumbar enlargement, right? We have cervical enlargement, we have lumbar enlargement. Now guys, the cervical enlargement, it is from C3 to T2, right? Now when I say C3 guys, it is cervical spinal nerve 3. It is cervical spinal nerve 3 to thoracic spinal nerve 2. You already know we have spinal segments guys. We have already discussed the spinal segments. I'm talking about the spinal cord. I'm not talking about the vertebra over here. So spinal segments, how many cervical spinal segments are there? Just tell me in the chat box, guys. How many cervical spinal segments are there and how many cervical spinal nerves it will give rise to? How many cervical spinal segments are there and how many cervical spinal nerves it will give rise to? चलो फटाफट से बता दो. How many cervical spinal nerves are there and how many like yes, obviously Ankit Singh, it is 8 and obviously it will be these 8 segments will be giving rise to these 8 spinal nerves, right? Yes बेटा 8 है 8 है मैंने पहले ही बताया था. The lumbar enlargement, it is from L1 to S3. Again, it is lumbar spinal nerve 1 to sacral spinal nerve 3, right? Sacral spinal nerve 3, right? So that is something you have to remember, guys, right? Very good. Samita, Samir, very good, guys. Now, coming on to one more important part over here, that is called as the Cauda equina, guys. Right? Okay. One of the more important parts in the external features, guys, you already know. Let us suppose that this is the spinal cord. This is the spinal cord. And this spinal cord, it is basically ending in this conus medullaris. Conus medullaris. Conus medullaris. And it is at the level of which vertebra, guys? It is the lower border of L1 vertebra. L1 vertebra, the spinal cord is getting finished, right? The spinal cord is getting finished. Now, nerves cannot finish at this level. Nerves have to come out from their respective levels only. From their respective levels only, guys. Now, you already know the spinal cord, it is basically shorter as compared to the vertebral canal, right? So, in the vertebra, we have foramens, the transverse foramen through which the spinal nerves are going out. The sacral spinal nerve, the lumbar spinal nerve. Now, at the level of the L1 vertebra, the spinal nerves are not finishing, guys. The spinal nerves are not finishing. They will be coming out respectively from their respective transverse foramina. Okay, and that is like this. They will not come directly like this. They will go down and they will go to their respective transverse foramina of their particular vertebra and then they will come out. And then they will come out, right? And then they will come out. So if you just clearly see, guys, it is, yes. They are just going down like this. And this is something which is representing the tail of a horse, guys, the tail of a horse, and that is something called as Cauda equina. That is something called as the Cauda equina, guys. The Cauda equina. Now, when I say Cauda equina, guys, you already know this Cauda equina. Basically, Cauda means tail and equina, like it's coming in like bundles, but it is going and coming out from their respective vertebral foramens. I mean, the transverse foramina of their vertebra. Okay, the sacral spinal nerves. Okay, okay, the lower part of the lumbar nerves, the L3, L4, L5, the sacral spinal nerves. They will not come out at this place. They will come out from below only. But the spinal cord is ending above. So they are coming from these spinal segments above, but they are going down like this, and this is something which represents the tail of a horse, and that is why this is something which is called as the Cauda equina. Cauda equina. Now guys, conus medullaris, if I ask you, okay, two different questions, guys. Conus medullaris is a part of which system? Central nervous system or peripheral nervous system? Now this is what? This is spinal cord. This is spinal cord, and spinal cord is ending at a lower part of the spinal cord. It is called conus medullaris, right? Conus medullaris. Now there is something called as, you will be discussing in medicine or in clinical anatomy, that is called as conus medullary syndrome. Means there is an injury to this part that is called as conus medullary syndrome, guys. And if there is injury to this particular conus medullaris, it will lead to conus medullary syndrome. Yes, and it will affect to which part, guys? It will affect to, yes, it will affect to, yes, both CNS and PNS. Both CNS and PNS, the peripheral nervous system, because the nerves also will get affected now. If the conus medullaris is injured, obviously central part is affected, but nerves also coming out from this will be affected, right, Ankit? Now, if I say there is something called as Cauda equina syndrome, Cauda equina syndrome, if there is an injury to this part, the nerves coming out from the lower segments of the spinal cord, the sacral segments or the coccygeal segment. Now, which nervous system will be affected, CNS or PNS over here? In the Cauda equina syndrome, which system will be affected? I mean, CNS or PNS, guys? Yes, over here only PNS will be affected because only the nerves are getting injured, and these nerves, these spinal nerves, these are what? These are the spinal nerves, guys, and these are part of the peripheral nervous system only, right? So they actually affect the lower motor neurons. Obviously, peripheral nervous system of not upper part, they are affecting the lower part. So the peripheral nervous system of the lower motor neurons. So the peripheral nervous system is involved. The lower neurons are involved. Yes, Riti, Samir, Ankit. I hope this is clear, guys. I just wanted to discuss something like clinical over here. And I hope this is clear, guys. The lower motor neurons will be affected because these are the lower spinal nerves coming over here, right? So this is the Cauda equina. That is the fourth external feature that you should know. Is it clear, guys, everyone? Just give me a thumbs up. In the Cauda conus medullaris syndrome, both, because conus medullaris is a terminal part of spinal cord. Spinal cord is a part of central nervous system, and from the conus medullaris also, like the nerves are coming out. Nerves will also get injured automatically, right? So I hope this is clear, guys. Just give me a thumbs up if it is clear to everyone. Yes, if it is like clear to everyone. Yeah. Shall educate me. Perfect. Samir Shivapur, very good. Yes, guys. Like this is something that I wanted to like discuss with you. Yeah. I hope you all are enjoying, guys. You all are enjoying learning over here, right? You all are enjoying learning over here, guys, right? So please, yes. Now, your favorite topic, guys, that is the transverse section of spinal cord and the internal features. These two topics are left and we'll just complete it, right? So yes, these are two very important topics. Let us please discuss this. Don't like, we shouldn't waste time over here. We'll be discussing the transverse section of the spinal cord. Now what I'm doing, guys, I'm taking the spinal cord, or already I've told you a lot about this, right? The spinal cord, right? And I'm cutting the spinal cord in a transverse manner. Okay. Now how the spinal cord will look like, guys? I have already told you, in the anterior part, in the midline, we have a fissure. Fissure is just like an opening, guys. Fissure is just like an opening, guys. And behind we have a septum, right? So yes. Okay, let me just draw it nicely. Yes, we will now try to label all the parts, guys. Everything is like, I'm trying to make it like crystal clear to you people. Anteriorly, guys, we have an opening, and you already know this opening. It is, yes. Okay. I don't know why my tab is not working. And posteriorly, we have a fissure, guys, over here, right? Now, This is the anterior side of the spinal cord and this is the posterior side. Guys, please try to follow the directions as well. Please try to follow the directions as well. This is anterior side, so this is an opening, guys, and it is exactly in the midline, guys. It is exactly in the midline. And yes, I will just try to draw this as well. So this is anterior median fissure. Median because it's exactly in the midline. Fissure is just like a slit-like opening, guys. Slit-like opening. Anterior median fissure. We have posteriorly a sulcus, a line, guys. So it is called as the posterior median sulcus that you already know from the the external part of the spinal cord, posterior median sulcus. In center, we have this central canal of the spinal cord, the central canal of the spinal cord, right? The central canal of the spinal cord, right? Now this one which I'm highlighting over here, okay, this one is which matter of the spinal cord, guys? Try to type in the chat box, guys, which matter of the spinal cord is this? Although I'm highlighting it with yellow color, but you should know which matter of the spinal cord is this. चलो बताओ फटाफट से इसका आंसर बताओ, which matter of the spinal cord is this? Yes, it is the gray matter. Very good, Riti. It is the gray matter of the spinal cord, right? This is the yellow one. It is the gray matter of the spinal cord. Gray matter, it is composed of what, guys? Cell body or axon? It is gray matter of the spinal cord. It is cell body or axon, guys? Tell me. Gray matter of the spinal cord. And outside we have the white matter. White matter of the spinal cord. Right. Yes, it is the cell bodies. I don't have the gray color just to highlight this. Okay. Now, guys, anything which is posterior, it is also called as dorsal. So we have various horns of this gray matter. So you guys have to remember. Yes. This one, it is located posteriorly, guys. So it is called as the dorsal horn of the spinal cord. It is called as the dorsal horn of the spinal cord. And which matter? It is the gray matter. We have, okay, one just see the projection, guys. It is more towards the lateral side. So this one will be the lateral horn of the spinal cord. Lateral horn of spinal cord. Gray matter. And anteriorly, we have also one horn, and it is called as the anterior horn of the spinal cord. It is called as the anterior horn of the spinal cord. Anterior horn of the spinal cord. Anterior horn of the spinal cord. So we have three horns just based on the position. Anterior, or I can simply say it ventral horn of the spinal cord. Ventral means anterior only. Dorsal means posterior only. Posterior horn of the spinal cord. Lateral side we have a horn, and anteriorly we also have a horn. I will be coming to where this like the things are there. So I hope you can very well see over here that is simple transverse section of this. Like if I just try to show you like this is the simple transverse section of the spinal cord. And outside this gray matter, guys, outside this gray matter, you can see an area over here, guys, right? This green color, which I'm highlighting in the white matter, guys, these are the white matter columns, or we call it as funiculus. So white matter also, I'm like discussing it over here only. So we have three columns over here. three columns over here in the white matter, guys. Anything which is in front, guys, anything which is in front, I have already told you it is called as ventral. So it is called as the ventral column or funiculus. Ventral column of what matter? White matter. Okay. We have this green color on the lateral side in the white matter. So it is the, yeah, the lateral column, and we have posterior column. We have posterior column of this white matter. We have this posterior column of this white matter. So just done and dusted, guys. If you just know this, guys, just let me know if the transfer section is clear, guys, to everyone. Just give me a thumbs up. A very simple diagram, but exactly just by their locations we are trying to name it. Just by the locations we are trying to name it, guys. बताओ फटाफट से बताओ. हम्म. Samhita Rajesh. Okay, 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 perfect. Hmm. What about rest, guys? Yeah. Hmm. So white matter, anyways, I have discussed it over here. We have ventral column, we have lateral column, we have posterior column. So white matter, obviously, I have already discussed the white matter over here. Yes, and that is yeah, the internal structure, guys, that we are discussing over here. That is the white matter. I have already we have the ventral column, the lateral column, posterior column. We'll be discussing the tracks anyways in that case necessary. Yes, Riti, Samir, very good. One important part that I have to discuss the internal features, the gray and the white matter. Gray matter we will be discussing now. White matter I have just told you about. We have the ventral column, we have the lateral column, we have the posterior column in the white matter, and that is something which will be discussing it in detail, guys. Now let us just try to hmm, let us discuss the gray matter of the spinal cord in detail, guys. Now in the gray matter, guys, in the gray matter of the spinal cord, we have something discussed in the basics, guys. The gray matter of the spinal cord in the central nervous system. It is called as, what is the name given to the gray matter in the spinal cord? Okay, in the central nervous system. Spinal cord is a part of the central nervous system only. So can you see that in the central nervous system, the gray matter, it is termed as nucleus. It is termed as nucleus, right? So the gray matter in the central nervous system means the spinal cord only. So we will have various nucleus in this gray matter. We will have various nucleus over here in this gray matter. Okay. We will have various nucleus in this gray matter, right? Do you understand this, guys? Do you understand this, everyone? So we are going to discuss the nucleus, guys, because this gray matter in the central nervous system, in the spinal cord, it is the collection of these cell bodies, and it is given a specific name that is called as nucleus. It is given a specific name that is called as nucleus. Yes, let us just try to, yes. Hmm. Gray matter of the spinal cord, guys. Let us just try to draw this diagram and try to understand in once only what is and please try to draw on one side of the notebook. Please try to draw on one side of the notebook, right? So yes, try to draw the gray matter like big so that it's like, I will be drawing only for the one side, like it will be like same on the other side as well. So we have three more matters in, I mean, the three horns in the gray matter, right? So firstly, it is the dorsal horn, right? We have the dorsal horn, right? We have this, yes, this is the dorsal horn. Dorsal means the posterior. We have this lateral horn, the lateral horn. And obviously we will have this horn that is called as the ventral horn, the ventral horn. So we have dorsal horn, lateral horn, and the ventral horn, guys, right? Dorsal, lateral, and ventral horn, right? now, now, guys, in the dorsal horn, right? Dorsal horn carries, okay, the posterior part. I have already told you in the beginning. It will carry sensory neurons or motor neurons. Pichla wala part, it will carry sensory neurons or motor neurons, guys. You guys are going to tell me. So in the dorsal horn, basically it contains the sensory neurons. It contains the sensory neuron, guys, and basically three main nuclei are seen here. Now we have three main nuclei. Basically, they contain the sensory neuron. Yes, Riti, you are right. Basically, they're carrying the sensation from outside. When we think about muscle, the skin, okay, the pain, temperature, touch, pressure, okay, everything, stereognosis, everything, like they all like coming from this. The neurons are coming into this dorsal horn. They're coming into this dorsal horn. In this dorsal horn, the very first important nucleus, which you will see over here, located on the most dorsal side. Okay, yes, on the most dorsal side, guys. That is okay. Can anyone tell me the name of this particular neuron? I mean, the nucleus over here. Yes, the nucleus over here. Yes, yes, yes. That is substantia gelatinosa. Yes, just try to write down this. This is substantia gelatinosa. Now, this particular nucleus. Now, guys, you already know. You already know all the sensations, for example, the pain, the temperature, the touch, the pressure, everything, it is coming from outside. It is coming from outside. Now all the neurons will now come over here. If I just try to show it, all the neurons will come from outside to here, okay, to this substantia gelatinosa. Anything which is coming from outside will be the first order neurons, which is carrying the nerve impulses, so it will be like coming to the substantia gelatinosa. It will be coming to the substantia gelatinosa, right? Now the function of the nerve, okay, especially if we talk about substantia gelatinosa, it will carry like the pain and temperature. Now the nerves carrying pain and temperature, it will give the like the information over here, okay. Pain and temperature will come and will relay the information in the substantia gelatinosa. Now what will happen from here, substantia gelatinosa, a second order neuron will start. That is the interneuron that we already know. That is an interneuron that will already know. Okay. And yes, what it will, okay, the first order neuron is the one which is now coming from outside, from the dorsal root ganglion, right? All the sensory information coming to substantia gelatinosa. They will relay all the information over here. Now, from the substantia gelatinosa, a second order neuron will begin, right? And a new neuron will start, which will come into the, okay, which will come into the white matter of the spinal cord. It will come into the white matter of the spinal cord. It will come into the white matter of the spinal cord. And when they come into the white matter of the spinal cord, they will ascend upward to the brainstem. Brainstem, you already know, right? The pons, the brainstem, right? You already know. They will ascend to the brainstem, and then they will go to the thalamus part above the brainstem, above the pons and the medulla oblongata. We have this like the thalamus part, okay? The thalamus part, and obviously like everything will go over there. Spinothalamic tract, right, which carries the pain and temperature coming from outside to this particular part of the brain. Now the first order neuron it is coming from outside and it is ending at substantia gelatinosa. From substantia gelatinosa, second order neuron will start and it will come into the white matter, right? Now it will ascend upward to reach the thalamus, okay? And in the thalamus, basically it will again give rise to one neuron that will go into the cerebrum part. That will be the third order neurons. First order neuron coming to substantia gelatinosa, from substantia gelatinosa into the white matter, and from white matter it is going to brainstem to thalamus. Now from the thalamus also it has to go above cerebrum, right? So to the cerebral hemisphere, basically a third order neuron, I mean from the thalamus, the third order neuron will start and it will go to the cerebrum, right? So that is like you already know this. So this substantia gelatinosa, guys, this substantia gelatinosa, it is basically responsible for, I'm just erasing this first wala part. I will be discussing all the tracks, so just don't worry about all this, right? So this substantia gelatinosa, it is basically responsible for this pain and temperature. Pain and temperature. I mean, they are all the information, all the sensory information coming onto this particular nucleus. It is the pain and temperature, right? The nerve, the sensory neuron basically carrying pain and temperature will come into and it will go into the substantia gelatinosa of the spinal cord. So that is one of the nucleus that you can see over here. Now guys, the largest nuclei, guys, the largest nuclei in the gray matter of the spinal cord over here, if you can just see, if I'm drawing like this, you can see the largest nuclei in the gray matter of the spinal cord. Okay, that is nucleus proprius. This is nothing but the nucleus proprius. Now this nucleus proprius is basically the largest nuclei in the gray matter of spinal cord. Largest nuclei in gray matter of the spinal cord. In gray matter of spinal cord. And these are all located in which part, guys? These are all located in the dorsal horn, guys. These are all located in the dorsal horn, guys, right? The largest nuclei in the gray matter of the spinal cord. And it is responsible for very, very important touch. Yes, pressure, touch, pressure, vibrations, conscious proprioception, conscious proprioception, guys. So these are responsible for touch, pressure, vibrations, conscious proprioception, guys, right? So now, guys, after this, we have one more nucleus, which is slightly projecting towards the back, guys, which is slightly projecting towards the back in the dorsal column. And again, the name, it is based on the location where it is projecting on the dorsal horn. It is like pressing the dorsal horn posteriorly, and that's it. That is why it is called as nucleus dorsalis. Nucleus dorsalis. The nucleus dorsalis, guys. Dorsalis. Now it is slightly projecting towards the dorsal column. You already know we have a column over here that is called as the dorsal column. I have already told you in the white matter of the spinal cord we have this dorsal column. So it is slightly projecting towards the dorsal column. So it's forming a bulge in the dorsal column. That's why, like, just the name. And this nucleus dorsalis, it is carrying unconscious proprioception. Unconscious proprioception. Unconscious proprioception. That is something you have to remember. Unconscious proprioception, right? Now, I hope in the dorsal horn, guys, the three nucleus are present. Substantia gelatinosa. Yes, the substantia gelatinosa, the nucleus proprius, and the nucleus dorsalis. You should know the nucleus. And what is this nucleus? It is nothing but the gray matter. And gray matter is a collection of the cell bodies. in the spinal cord in the CNS, guys. Is it clear, guys? Just give me a thumbs up if this part is clear to everyone. If this part is clear to everyone, just give me a thumbs up in the chat box. Yes. Hmm. Yes. Samir, Riti, Rajesh, very good. Very good. Very good, guys. Now, guys, coming on to the lateral horn. Coming on to the lateral horn, guys. In the lateral horn, we again have a nucleus over here. We again have a nucleus over here, guys. And this nucleus in the lateral horn, it is called as, again by the name, guys, intermediate nucleus of the lateral horn. It is the intermediate nucleus of lateral horn. Intermediate nucleus of lateral horn. Now this intermediate nucleus of lateral horn, it is autonomic in nature, guys. Now when I say autonomic nervous system, guys, autonomic nervous system. Now guys, I have taken the transverse section of the spinal cord. I have taken the transverse section of the spinal cord. Autonomic, you already know we have sympathetic and we have parasympathetic, right? Parasympathetic. Now, sympathetic, it is basically called as the thoracolumbar outflow. Thoracolumbar outflow, right? And parasympathetic, it is called as craniosacral outflow. Craniosacral outflow. Now, when I say thoracolumbar outflow, you guys already know it is from T1 to L2. Um, okay, craniosacral outflow, you guys already know we have the cranial nerves 3, 7, 9, 10, and sacral, it is S2, S3, and S4. Now, what is the purpose of telling this? No, this intermediate nucleus, it is regulating this autonomic part. Now, guys, if you take the transverse section of at the level of the thoracic vertebra, right? At the level of the thoracic vertebra, you are taking out the spinal cord. Now, what is happening? What is happening, guys? You can see we have the sympathetic regulation over here. So over there, obviously, the lateral horn will be present. Over here, the lateral horn will be present. But if I take the segment from the cervical region, in the cervical region, will the lateral horn will be present? Yes or no, guys? Tell me. In the if I am taking the spinal cord from the cervical region, from the neck region, will the lateral horn will be like present over there? Lateral horn will be present or not? No, guys, because obviously there is no sympathetic and parasympathetic regulation over there, right? So yes, the yes, the lateral horn, yes. So the lateral horn, it is not present everywhere, guys. I mean, the lateral horn, it is not present everywhere. So yes. So that is something you have to remember. Again, guys, one more important thing. Yes, no, obviously not. The lateral horns, yeah. Okay. If I'm taking the segment from no the parasympathetic neuron, I mean the S2, S3, and S4 region, the sacral segment of the spinal cord. Again, guys, you will see the lateral horns over there. Again, you will see the lateral horns. But this time the lateral horns are not giving sympathetic regulation, they are giving parasympathetic regulation, right? If you see the lateral horns in the thoracic region, you will see the sympathetic regulation. In the cervical region, obviously there is no like the autonomic parts, no lateral horn over there. Is it clear, guys, everyone? I hope it is clear. I hope it is clear, guys. Again, in the ventral horn, we have three nucleus, guys. Again, in the ventral horn, we have three nucleus. Yes, we have three nucleus, guys. Just remember, we have the, yes, this one located more laterally. Then in the intermediate part, we have, yes, and we have something in the anterior part. So the one which is located more laterally, guys, yes, or I can just draw like this. Yes, yeah, one more laterally located, so it is called as, yes, the lateral nucleus of ventral horn. Lateral nucleus of the ventral horn. Then we have, yes, in between we have, yes, so we have like two intermediate nucleus of lateral horn, and we have intermediate nucleus of ventral horn also. Intermediate nucleus of ventral horn also. And anteriorly we have the ventral nucleus of ventral horn, or I will simply say, since it's more closer to the midline, guys, I will say it as the median nucleus of the ventral horn. It's more closer to the midline, guys, so that is why it is the medial nucleus of ventral horn. Medial nucleus of the ventral horn. Medial nucleus of the ventral horn. So we have lateral, intermediate, and yes, the medial nucleus of the ventral horn that you can see over here, right? So the lateral nucleus, guys, basically from L, you have to remember it is like related with the limb muscles. The limb muscles, right? Limb muscles. Okay. The medial, basically M, basically you already know the midline of the body. The midline of the body. So it is related with the axial muscles, guys. The axial muscles, the muscles in the midline of the body, right? So you already know the axial muscles such as the abdominal muscles. Now, the ventral horn, it is responsible for the motor supply, the muscle supply. The dorsal horn, it is responsible for the sensory neurons, right? The motor supply the muscles. So obviously in the anterior nucleus, we will have the limb muscles. In the middle part, we'll have the abdominal muscles. You already know we have intercostal muscles, right? Intercostal muscles. So just by the name, you guys have to remember, right? So yeah, that we have already discussed, right? The intermediate nucleus of the ventral horn, right? Now, the intermediate nucleus of the ventral horn, again, it's a point to study, guys. It is not present everywhere. Okay, it is not present everywhere. It is not present everywhere, guys. Now, guys, I have already told you, in the cervical region, we don't have this intermediate nucleus of the lateral horn. Okay, because it is autonomic. It is like sympathetic and parasympathetic outflow is there. It's only present in the thoracolimbar T1 to L2 and S2, S3, S4. So in that case, if in the cervical region, if this intermediate nucleus is not there of the lateral horn, then the intermediate nucleus of ventral horn is present over there. So remember, guys, it is only present in cervical region. It is only present in cervical region. It is only present in the cervical region, guys. Right? It is only present in the cervical region. Right? So you already know the muscles that are involved in the cervical region, guys. Muscles in the cervical region, guys. The very important muscle that you can touch over here, that is the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Sternocleidomastoid muscle. We have trapezius muscle. Trapezius muscle. We have diaphragmatic muscles, the muscles of the diaphragm, right? So, yes. So the intermediate nucleus, basically, yes, they have the root values. So yes, they have the root values, the intermediate nucleus, the spinal accessory nerve. Okay. The spinal accessory nerve, I should write it over here. The spinal accessory nerve, guys, that is from, you already know, C1 to C5, the root value cervical spinal nerve to this 5. Yes. And we have phrenic nerve also. Now you will say the diaphragm is below, but you should know that the phrenic nerve, the nerve supplying to the diaphragm, it has root values C3, C4, C5. It is coming from the cervical region only. So that is the root values of, that's why the diaphragmatic muscles are also like the intermediate nucleus of the ventral horn is responsible. So intermediate nucleus of the ventral horn, it's only present in the cervical region. Lateral nucleus of the ventral horn, it's only in the intermediate nucleus of the lateral horn, it is present in the thoracic and this lumbar region. Guys, right? So that is about this part, guys. I hope you guys have understood this. I hope you guys understood this. And the white matter, guys, we have already discussed. We have this three funiculus, right? The ventral, the lateral, and the posterior column funiculus, right? So the ventral, which is present between the ventral horn of the spinal cord and the anterior median fissure. The lateral one is on the lateral side, and the posterior one it is present between the dorsal horn of the spinal cord and the posterior median sulcus. So that is about the white matter of the spinal cord that you already know, right? So I hope you all understood today's lecture, and we will be meeting again tomorrow, and I will be completing this other tracks tomorrow, guys, right? So that was about today. We have discussed like a lot today, right? Because we have to start from basics. So I have to like discuss everything. I have discussed the anatomical division of the nervous system, guys, right? I have discussed the parts of the brain, the basic things, the spinal segments, which I have discussed, right? The spinal segments, right? The spinal segments. We have discussed the spinal nerves, the functional organization, the sensory and the motor, the cellular organization, all the cells in detail, and what is nucleus, what is ganglia, what is tract, what is fasciculus, right? What is lemniscus? We have discussed the different neuroglial cells. We have discussed the structural classification of neurons today. Uh, Okay, so functional classification of the neurons, the gross anatomy of the spinal nerve. Okay, the 31 pairs of spinal nerve which we have, the spinal cord. We have discussed everything like all the meninges of the spinal cord, even the lumbar puncture, the external features of the spinal cord, the lumbar puncture, the transverse structure, the internal, the gray matter, all the nucleus of the gray matter, and the white matter, that is the funiculus part. Guys, if you have any doubt, you can just text me on my number, guys. That is 85878 87291. Right, that is my number. You can text me over here if you have any doubts, and it will be shared to the Telegram group below. In the comment section, it is mentioned. Either you can just join my Telegram group also. That is Docs Mayan. I will be sharing notes there as well. Okay. So yes, thank you for your patience for listening me out for so long, guys. So yes, let us just I'll end the session now. Thank you. Thank you, guys.